Hi, and welcome to Magic Numbers. This is episode number 111. And today I have a guest, and it's amazing. So let's say hi. Eduardo Sajgalik, a professional player, a caster, coach, uh, many things we're going to talk about. But the main topic is going to be how to train a pro and about his work with Team Worldly Counsel on limited before recent Pro Tours and previous Pro Tours and many other things. So we're going to try to talk about what is the use of the data and training for the Pro Tour, what is the use of those amazing brains that he's working with, and how you can tame them and how you can benefit from having them on board as well. So we're going to try to touch all those topics. Before we move on to that, obviously, thanks to my patrons for sponsoring, and thanks to mtgazone.com for sponsoring the podcast. But we won't focus on that too much because we want to focus on our guest. And there is a lot to focus on because Eduardo has quite a stellar career on the Pro Tour with 2 Pro Tour top 8s, with 7 GP top 8s, and a second person that I have as a guest on my podcast that won the GP in Warsaw. I'm not one of those. I made a day 2 once, and that's as far as I can get in GP Warsaw success rate, but you won it in 2018, 2019. On top of that, you are, I think that, if you would ask a bunch of pro players about their kind of the pros content creator, you probably would come up quite a lot in those lists because you're the kind of a theoretician that maybe does not have this amazing broad appeal, but people who know, they will respect your opinion all the time. And I hear your name or your nickname Walaoumpa a lot in professional players podcasts, mentioned as the person who came up with this brew, who opened their eyes to something, who taught them how to draft this thing. So I guess you're the sort of pros content creator, which is,
That's a nice way to put it. I didn't think about it that way, but that's nice.
I mean, it's nice. It doesn't pay the bills. You would rather be professor, but there is some kind of like nobilitization of being respected by the top echelons of the players of the game, and I think that you are definitely a person like that.
Thank you.
So yeah, welcome. Do you have anything to add on top of those accolades?
I guess on the career side, I view myself as like what I like to call the ATP 300, which is like I know I'm a good player, but I know I'm below like the echelon of like world class. Like there's clearly players that are much better than me, which is fine, right? You have being aware, but I still manage like a nice career. Like I rounded to around 100,000 lifetime, which is a nice little goal. And I think like the last goal I really want to do personally is to qualify to like the new world championship structure. But that's a pipe dream functionally. The big thing I think is that I've been around the game a long time. And I always like to try to think about what Magic would look like in 2 or 3 years in terms of what we want to do. So as a result, I'm always trying to think a little ahead in the future. And that GP that I won is actually a really good mention because that was when Arena was relatively new. And there wasn't, I don't think there was really 17 land data back then. And even then it was like bot drafts. So there's a limit to that data for sure.
It was maybe barely starting.
Yeah. So I wasn't using it for sure though. But the thing that helped me with that is I casted that Pro Tour. That was my first Pro Tour cast. So I was with the professional team. And the reason I won that Grand Prix, apart from getting very lucky, as you always have to for these things, I opened a good seal pool. And then like in the draft, green was my line in that format. I was Gills of Ravnica. So like it was all Demir and Boros. So where does green fit? And the thing that helped me was actually somebody who I think was a limited visionary back in the day, didn't get as much respect for the name, Jason Chung. Very good. And one thing from, and there was like 2 things that combined. One is that people didn't know how to draft green, and he had figured it out, which is like the green decks are undergrowth based. So you just need to draft all the creatures you can and prioritize those over spells, which I thought was really smart. And I enacted that strategy and got lucky and managed to win out. But that also comes at the thing that I only played on Arena and only watched high-level games of Magic. So it's kind of a weird thing, right? It's like I didn't play that set on Moto at all. and I didn't on MTGO at all. And I even at the house, I was watching the drafts, and at the Pro Tour, I was watching the drafts. So I didn't actually play them myself. So I very much have a lot more of a theoretical mindset, like because I find it now in my current life and style and all that, I find it harder to play matches of Magic, like because I want to commit, but when you commit to matches of Magic, it's a lot. So like but I do love thinking about formats. I do love thinking about metagames. I do love how thinking about information and statistical analysis. So that's where that comes in, right? From the profile side is while I can play well, I know that I have a very good theoretical mindset. And I think recently not being qualified to the Pro Tours also meant that when I was helping the team, I was solely focused on the theory because I don't have to play. So like all I was doing was trying to figure out the format. There's nothing else that I was supposed to do. And that changed my approach to how I saw the game. And I feel in the last 2 or 3 years, I've developed a skill set that is fairly unique and a little different as a result.
Well, that's, yeah. I mean, if there is one place on Magic content creation sphere where theoreticians will be appreciated, that's definitely here, because even though, you know, I'm always driven by data, but I like to use data to test theories, because that's sort of what I do in my day job. And when I can combine my hobby with at least the skill set that I possess, you know, you want to use the things that you sort of get for free. I'm not going to reinvent a new career for myself in content creation based on something I cannot do in my real world life. I'd rather use the skills that I have. So testing theories using data is something I always like to do. Not every week you can do that. Sometimes I just have to give, you know, those episodes when I will tell people, okay, this is the strongest color and this is the card that is underdrafted based on the ALSA and whatnot. But like last week, I went deeper on ALSA, and for example, we talked about the mathematical properties of ALSA and why it might be more surprising to you that it's not linear, for example, and that ALSA 5 is very different from ALSA. The difference between ALSA 4 and 5 is different than the difference between ALSA 2 and 3, for example, and it also depends on rarity. So, you know, we like testing theories here, so that's great. And this is why we meet today, because you've been working with Team Worldly Counsel. I guess that the most famous person on that team is Andrea Mengucci. But there's plenty of really strong players. Marco Del Pivo is on it. And they had good success in the last Pro Tours. I guess Christian Calcano is also part of that team. So, you know, like banger after banger after banger in terms of players. But also this team is different in a way that is geographically dispersed. So you have people from multiple countries, and I think it's quite welcoming for people who play their first Pro Tour. As basically anyone can join, if I remember correctly.
So I'll give a bit of background to the team. Essentially, Zent Takahashi kind of spearheaded it, and the reason for that is that there were a lot of and it's a result of the new system, right? There's a lot of people who won their RCs who are qualified to both a Pro Tour and the World Championship. But, you know, at the end of the day, they won one tournament, right? Like, anybody can do it. I mean, you have to be good, you have to be lucky, but it can happen, right? So the thing, though, is you won the tournament, great. However, a lot of countries have much smaller RCs, and then you're, like, left with one other qualified player. So what do you do? So that was, like, kind of the purpose of the team, is, like, regrouping these people from all across the world that, like, are qualified to the PT or the World Championship and now have only one little don't really have a space to go. So the team was established on that principle. As time evolved, that was maintained, that internationality, people coming in and out often, but you know, the rotation is often people who are qualified, and then there's a few people who aren't qualified who'd help. I'm often in that group. I usually set expectations, like, to the group in advance. Like the last PT, for example, I knew was going to be, like, really intense on work. So I told them I'd contribute less. I ended up contributing less time-wise, but MKM was a really easy set, honestly, to understand, frankly. So it was very easy to communicate what to do here. But the key out of it is that because people are international and coming from different countries, very few people have English as a first language. So as a result, communication, because we know it might be challenging, we spend a lot of time trying to make it better, which means people are more willing to listen, more willing to take time to listen to one another, give space, etc. So in a weird way, because communication we know is challenging, we spend more time trying to make it work. And then because people are international, the flights are long. They're like, well, I can't just fly in that day. So often there's a little bit of a house element to this. So there's very much this sense of we want to listen to each other, and there's I'm not going to say there's no egos because it's still competitive Magic, but there's a lot less egocentrism in the team. So as a result, it helps people like coming in at a place of learning. And the nice part is, if anybody is egocentrical, there's always an experienced player ready to back them in. So that's actually important to have experienced people that are good because, for example, if somebody thinks they're better at draft, this last PT we had in Marshall before we had Beekeeper, Sean Goddard, who's insane at limited. And I'm no slouch either because I usually come in and smash their face into. So it's and there's other people on the team that are very good. So as a result, if we have somebody who did have a little bit of a disillusionment in terms of like their own abilities, we put that in place and we let them realize, look, you're welcome. We want to hear what you're on this because we want to hear from you, but we don't do that here. As for like accepting, because specifically for Seattle, we actually had a lot of people requalify, which is great, but it leaves a little space. So Zen had to actually say no to a lot of people for that PT, but I know we were also trying to do like an RC group, like a secondary group for kind of aspiring players. So we were in that too. And that was helpful because the RCs around the world. So it's not a perfect system that I know we're trying to figure out, and we're definitely worse at constructed. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I am trying to find a theory system in constructed. That's a whole other topic, but yeah, that's essentially like the team in a nutshell. And I really like the people on our team. I really like spending time with them. And if I didn't, I wouldn't do the things for them, right? Because functionally, I'm just doing this for them in the background. They did fly me to Las Vegas for Worlds, which I was super happy about. That was like the first time like the team banded together and bought my flight, paid my hotel, and that was really nice. Like really thankful to them for that.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, I guess that Team Handshake also does it. They have like the first tier Team Handshake, and there's the second tier Team Handshake for the more, like an incubator for young talent. I guess that's how it will work. And also, I guess that all of the players in there will need maybe less help with constructed in terms of like fundamentals. It will be, of course, problematic to build a deck or something, but you said that to win an RC you can spike it, but there are limits of what you can spike. I don't think that you can win an RC if you completely don't know how to play the game. You can't be that lucky.
Sure.
I mean, you
right.
have to be still at quite a high level of play, and you need to be lucky on top of that.
Right. We usually look, but like, I mean, if you want the converse example, I have a 66% win rate at RCs, and I don't have an invite, and I know another team member. Like, it's
yeah. You can definitely be unlucky. That's true.
No, okay. It's fine though. Like, it's the system. You live with the system you have.
Yeah, let's not complain about the system, and definitely don't tweet about it. We've learned that the hard way. Right. I asked my patrons to ask a couple of questions to you before we start going into the main presentation. By the way, to the people listening, the idea is that Eduardo is going to go through his talk that he was giving to the team Worldly Counsel, and then we are going to sort of analyze it. I'm going to play a secondary role today. I'm going to maybe asking some questions and contributing with the awkward pauses and maybe bad jokes. But Eduardo is going to be carrying the discussion because we're going to talk about his vision on how to train a pro and what are the best things to do in order to learn how to play the game better. And I thought this would be amazing because, again, most content creation focuses on teaching beginner to intermediate players, maybe advanced, but rarely we talk about how to train pros. But I think that there can be lessons drawn from training the top players in the game that any kind of ability player will find useful for them. And that's what we're going to try. But okay, questions from the patrons, and we have first one from Banduzel is, how do best of 3 arena compare to MTGO and best of 1 arena leagues with respect to Pro Tour prep?
Okay. There's so I like this question. I'm gonna be very sorry to Banduzel, because I'm gonna say that your question by the question you have, you probably have an erroneous vision of what it means to train at a high level, but that's fine. That's why we're here, so it's okay. The big thing here, I will answer your question literally, and then I'll say why the premise of your question is flawed. So, best of 3 arena compared to MTGO, not close. The MTGO leagues are a little higher. Best of 3 arena is actually the softest. Best of 1 leagues on arena are actually harder than best of 3. Fun. It's actually kind of funny. If you look at the statistic, there's a higher win rate on 17 lines. It's just straight up easier. So yeah, best of 1 arena leagues with respect to PT prep, they're fine. So the thing on our team that's really important that we say when a limited set is out is, before the data is available, just do whatever. Honestly, a pre-release is good enough prep, because all you need to do is understand what the cards are, what the mechanics are. You don't need more than to know what the text on a card is. Like, there's multiple levels of preparation, and the first one is read the set, and a good way to read the set is to play it. So we literally say, just play whatever. Doesn't matter what it is, because you're not trying to win rate. Your information is going to be wrong later on anyways. For the anecdote, I drafted green my first 2 pre-release Lord of the Ring drafts. Do you think I drafted green later? Absolutely not. But that's the thing, is it's better to just play things. So now, as to the premise of this, if you ever were going to train to compare your skill at a high level, the only online option that is available to you as a player without connections is single elimination draft queues on MTGO. There is nothing else that is even remotely close. From that perspective of, I'm going to try to learn how to play at that level. There's nothing else that's close. Everything else is fine from the perspective of understanding cards, understanding the format, if you have a good mindset, etc. The truth here, with respect to PT prep, for me, there's 3 steps. Step 1, learn the set. Read the set, play the cards. I don't care if, honestly, a pre-release is good enough. Step 2 is analyze the data. And then step 3, when you're playing at a high level. By the way, step 2 is, the first 2 steps might actually be enough for you to cash an arena open. But step 3 is that essentially you want to group with others that are like-minded. And you can do this online. You can either slam the single elimination queue on MTGO, like just get all 8 of you in there at once, because it's so sparsely populated, you can just do that. Or you can, there's a few third-party tools that like do online drafts, and then you can build those drafts on Arena.
Like Draft Monster, I think.
Exactly. The important part about all this is getting the effect of multiplicative testing. Because here's the thing. When you do one draft, you do one draft. Sounds simple? It is. Now, when 8 people do a draft, this is where we have to stop, right? It's, well, let's say you do an F&M draft, right? And then you all leave. 8 people did a draft. So how many drafts got done from an expertise perspective? 8. It got shared between 8 people, but 8 drafts got done. What happens when you actually stop and analyze everyone's draft at the table? You don't draft 8, you draft 8 times per person. That's the secret to PT Prep. You need people who are knowledgeable. You need people to understand what's going on in the format. That's where the data analysis comes in. And then what you do is you sit back down at that table, you put your decks back, you talk through every pick you've done, the decisions, what's good, what's bad. Because one person talks, 7 people listen. You do that 8 times. That's 64 drafts you've done across a team. The secret to all, and this is an old technique. This is back from the Eureka days. And people remember that team on the PT, which was my heyday, I guess. It's dead simple. But functionally, you're drafting, you do one draft and you've drafted 8 times. And then you have 8 people who did that. So for an absolute minimal amount of time, you have a maximum opportunity of gaining expertise. And that's not beatable. It is truly not beatable. Like it's not, it is such a strong multiplicative effect that no one can catch up to you if they're not doing this. So when when I have people come to me and go like, I need advice for limited and stuff, I'm like, just get a bunch of people online. It doesn't even matter their skill as long as they have some level of skill in limited that are willing to sit through, play Swiss rounds of the games and go through their decks in order and across the table. You can do this online. If you record the logs, you can literally go log by log. What I did actually for one of the sets was they would go into the single elim queue, they would have their log, and on an arena, I guess you could do 17 lines, but there's no way to rush the thing in a way that's productive. So you end up with like the ability to go like draft for draft for draft for draft and to commentate. Like it would take me an hour to break down a best of 3 8-person draft and look at all those logs. And that's 8 people who get my expertise 8 times. So again, the most important part is that multiplicative effect. And that's why the premise of your question is there. It's the actual truth is the best way to prepare for a Pro Tour is that draft is a multiplayer format and you need to listen to every single player at the table. When you listen only to yourself, you are at a huge disadvantage compared to anyone in the field who's doing this.
By the way, I don't know if you use it, but if you're playing the games, you know that on 17 lands, you can get replays of every game that you played, including the ones that are not necessarily in the sanctioned events. So you can actually get the replays of the games as well and talk them through.
Yep. If you have an interesting game, you can pop them up. Yeah, there's a lot of tools out there. There's a lot of great stuff.
Okay, so that's the first question. By the way, there's maybe one comment I had to your assessment of the arena in terms of gameplay. Best of 3 queues are much softer because you're not paired by ranking, but actually draft pods are slightly more higher level on best of 3. So I think for practicing draft portions strictly, best of 3 may be a bit less far away from the Pro Tour experience. I'm not saying it's closer, I'm saying it's less far away.
Yeah.
But best of 1 is going to be higher level of players that you're going to be matched up, but usually pods are softer.
Right, but the way I learn limited is to watch someone else's draft. I draft sometimes myself, but I learn a lot more from watching other people draft. Like if you have no connections, just even a stream is good. Just replay. Honestly, there's so many good streamers playing limited. All you have to do look at your favorite streamer's video on demand. Skip to the drafts. Look at them again. You got 4 or 5 drafts. That's much faster than anything you could do on your own. No offense to you. It's just
definitely. I mean, I can do quick draft in probably around 120 seconds.
That's fair. Yeah. Quick draft though, that stops my.
You know how many because when I learned the set, I go on 17 lands or the draft sim and I just play those stupid bot drafts because just repping them, like repping 20
actually
of them
17
in a row.
lands you can simulate a draft, right?
Yeah. I do that. Yeah, you can just, and you know that by now those drafts those bots are actually quite high level because they were learning with some kind of weird AI for the generations of that data. So they are based on the data. They are pretty bad on the first day, but after a week they're probably better than your average user. So
yeah, it's actually there's a lot of tools to learn limited that aren't doing the draft.
All right, let's go to the question number 2 from Zach Kagan. Much like high-skilled drafters, pros know when to disregard the public data. What's the line? And I already get a weird feeling about your answer, and it's going to be very much similar to the first question's answer.
So...
What are some cards that a PT team limited captain would advocate listening to the data, and when would he advocate for ignoring it? And I guess that as a PT captain, we put you, because I'm pretty sure there are different types of PT captains. Might have a different approach.
So Zen Takahashi is like the Worldly Counsel team captain leader, and I'm one of the limited assignees. Like I think it's okay to call me a limited team captain. So on this one, we talked about this in the pre-show actually behind. That's why you were saying that my view on this is very easy, which is I think pros disregard the data way too much. The same way there are experts on the stock market, there are experts in limited play. And the easy, really, really simple answer to this is, so the idea is data is flawed because it's collected often on best of 1 rather than best of 3. And when it is collected on best of 3 and best of 1, it is still it's skewed because the people playing are better than the average person on arena. And here's the deal. that data will still get you 80 to 90% of the way there. And yes, there are exceptions, and yes, we do look at them. So that second question, yeah, we'll look at that in the presentation. I think rather than me answering that, I'll show you how I do that. I think that's an easier way to get that answered for you. But functionally, it's for me here. I would just simply say that a person's personal opinion is so much worse than the data can ever possibly be. And I include the literal best limited players in that like, I don't necessarily have a clue what's going on. Nor sometimes the best do, and sometimes they don't. By and large, I have not seen, except by accident, a take that is better than the data. And I don't even mean better or close. I mean like stratospherically different. And it's because no human can process the complexities of a magic set that easily. If they could, we would have design sets without any mistakes. That's not how it works. There's a lot of, it's really hard to design magic. And trust me, analyzing magic is very difficult too. The reason we get to analyze magic is we have a ton more people analyzing magic than we have designing it. So my view on this is reading the data will get you much better, much closer to the actual answer that you're looking for than ignoring it. So at least though, the way you worded your question isn't necessarily flawed because you're asking for like the exceptions to the rule, but I do want to preface it very strongly with, I see way too many high-level players that believe they know better, and they frankly fucking don't. And sorry for the language, but
that's okay. It's after 5 minutes, so my ad revenue won't be harmed by that.
Excellent, perfect. but it's basically that. It's like I've seen too many people ignore the data, and it's yeah. I don't mean, by the way, like I don't mind, by the way, like people who look at it and then have their takes. That's a different acknowledgement because that's still being data informed. So we can, like, the idea, right, for me is you want to be data informed, not data locked. Like you want to know, you want to have context. You want to know, like, how do I go beyond this, right? What do I do? But being uninformed or going like disregarding it completely is frankly like using a calculator when people have spreadsheets. It's you know, it's like trying to walk in a race where everyone runs. It's
so my approach to that is you don't want to be data ignorant, but you don't want the data to tell you what to do. You want it to be your servant.
Yeah, exactly. So that's at least the way you worded your question isn't flawed, but Zach here, so thank you. But it's more I did want to highlight though that like there's a lot more disregarding than should be, frankly. And it doesn't, you know, and it's not that hard to just, you know, listen to what's going on. Like it's okay to go like, okay, well, that's what's going on. So what's level 2? What's level 3? That, because what you're doing is you're getting yourself up to speed and then trying to go above and beyond. So that's the thing. But like, it's hard to go above and beyond when your premise is flawed. And a personal bias is by definition way higher chance of being flawed than relatively well collected data.
Cool beans. Okay, that's perfect. Let's go on. Well, to the main topic. So the preparation for the PT. And these are two questions that I actually had. And that's one, what is different and similar in prepping for a PT and just trying to be better in arena drafts? Are there any differences actually?
There are, for sure. Yes, there are. I'm burying the lead, but yes.
And what is the variance in limited skills in the PT competitor pool of players? Because I mean, I could assume that some of them will be strictly constructed specialists and some will be limited minded, but also there might be difficulties that come with coaching those two different groups because maybe the constructed specialists just don't understand limited very well, while the limited specialists don't like to be coached because they think they might know better.
So yeah, I'll have a few things to say about that, but and why our team has had good success is we don't fall into some pitfalls. But I'll answer the first one first. Yes, there is a difference. The biggest one is actually temporality. It's just a straight up fundamental. It's you are trying to be better than your opponents in a very specific point in time. So how I would draft MKM now is not the same as I would have drafted it at the PT. Because this won't be in the presentation, but because I did the presentation hastily, I missed one or two things that I did post in the Discord after. Like Greystone Strider was a good example. So that's not in the presentation. I can talk about it now. Greystone Strider was a very good example of a card that in 2-color decks was close to unplayable, but in 3-color decks was one of the top commons you could have. So I didn't notice it right away. It took me like a specific draft, and I was like, oh, actually, I didn't realize that. So that was like a piece of information that like I was able to relate to the team. But like a week or two later, that card is drafted quite highly because it's a very good salvage card. So I wouldn't have the same advice about it because I'd go like, oh, it's drafted highly, know about it, but realize that other people are. So this is what you'd rather do because so like for example, my advice in temporality with the PT was white or green because the white aggressive decks are best, but in best of 3 green might be better, and green has the best salvage archetypes. But then now where we are today with more information, I would relook at the information and go, well, people know this stuff, but actually what you want is aggressive green decks specifically because the tricks are still being picked quite low from green. Like in white, they're picked high, but not in green. Fanatical Strength goes late, Alibi goes late, but those are actually perfectly serviceable because they still work in the sense of the format of pushing damage, but they're being low priority. So like, the biggest difference here is temporality. You're not trying to win ranked drafts forever. You're trying to win at a specific point in time. So for a pro tour, the biggest difference for me is at this week, at this point in time, what are we trying to accomplish? And I think that's the thing. You might think there's a difference at high level, but the thing is I also work on arena opens. And when I do the arena opens, there's the biggest difference is like maybe the energy I put in. Like for the Pro Tour, I deeply care about how our team does. For the Arena Opens, I kind of want to prepare, but I just mostly go with flow. So, like the pod drafts don't happen as much for Arena Opens, but they do for the Pro Tour, right? So that's the difference. Is with Arena drafts, like the stakes are so low, you don't try to go to the absolute maximum. But for Pro Tour, there's a temporality, and because people care, you're capable of putting higher level strategies like that kind of multiplicative pod strategy that I was talking about. Yeah, that's the biggest difference. It's like the temporality plus the stakes.
Yeah, I can imagine that, if 16 people of the team cash on Arena Open, you maybe win 16 grand in total. But if someone spikes it on Pro Tour, you got
it's not even it's not the same. It's not the same, right? Like Calcano was second at Lord of the Rings. I don't remember what the prize pool was for that, but like it was like a world championship seed, at least 20, 25, 30.
Yeah, 20 something. Yeah.
Oh, plus there was a promo card, the top 16 card. Like it's like a ton of money. It was like 25 to 40K or something.
Because the promo cards are also worth like insane amount of money.
No? Yeah. So it's like it's a lot, right? Like there's and also there's a lot of people and they're all motivated. So people aren't going to be wishy-washy about stuff. They're going to want to do well.
Yeah.
Second question, right? What is the variance in limited skills? Huge, right? I would say the average current Pro Tour player at limited is worse. It has to be because before there were more players. B, a lot of the players qualified through levels, and levels players had to go to Grand Prix, and there's a lot of limited Grand Prix. There were a lot of limited Grand Prix, and a lot of people qualified for limited Grand Prix straight up. A lot of the seasons had limited PDQs or RPTQs. So generally, limited was a much larger part of the mid-level system. Right now, you have high-level limited and you have low-level limited. The only mid-level limited is actually the Arena Open, frankly.
Yeah.
Which, at least they're nice, comfort of your home. I can recommend them a lot. But there's a huge I'm not going to name the person, but there was a local player who qualified and didn't really play limited, and then like they showed up to a sealed RCQ and they had a 50 card deck. So I'm talking about stuff that like at the age my first pre-release I wasn't doing. And it's not meant to be insulting here. What I mean by that is there's such a large gap. So you don't need, it's important to understand level 2, 3, 4 strategies because you might need them. But honestly, a lot of the time, the basic strategy is there. And the big thing for me when I look at the stuff is, when I look at those 1-2 decks from the Pro Tour that get tweeted, a lot of the times it's like, oh, this deck looked good. And then I look at them and I'm like, this thing that's important in the format you don't have. you're playing this rare, which I know is bad, and in this context is also bad. You're not playing in the right context. And it's always 2, 3, 4 cards. But those cards are enough for me to know that this person doesn't understand what the format's about, that they probably picked incorrectly a couple of times. And that's, at that level, that's pretty bad. So, especially with play boosters, there's a lot more trap rares. There's a lot less room for maneuverability in general. So, like, it's very scary to make those mistakes at that level with less cards in the pack. You are in deep trouble. So that's kind of the difference for me. Is it's also like the day 1 pod is so different to the day 2 pod, because our team had 63, 64, 65% win rate in limited, but the day 1 win rate was above 70 and the day 2 was not even close to that. And the biggest difference is because of how tiebreakers work. And this isn't so much at 6-2 plus, because 6-2 plus players, A, there's few of them, and B, they probably had a good score in limited anyways. But like 4-4 and 5-3, what happens is you're paired based on ranking. So like pod is like 1 to 8, 9 to 16, etc. So the thing is,
high tiebreaker, so it will be all 3-0s
from limited, right? So sometimes you get lucky and you actually nab if you're lucky, you actually nab the people with a higher score. That's the best possible thing that can happen for 2 reasons. 1, they have worse limited records. 2, if you win and they lose, you're facing a losing deck with a winning deck. This is why a lot of 8-0 players overnight crash, is because at the draft, they face all these 7-1 players. If they lose their first round,
yeah, of course,
winning deck, losing deck. So like, that's actually a problem. Being 8-0 overnight, like, very high stakes in the morning. Like, you got to get out of that draft alive.
You probably try to spike the best. You probably should try to force Boros and hope for the best, basically.
Well, there's a few things, but you got to be careful.
I don't tell that you should force Boros, but yeah.
It's more like the lists are open, so there's other considerations in a feature pod. But anyways, like, the big thing is if you draft well on day 1, your day 2 draft is a lot harder. So how do you navigate that is a good question. That's also why DePra managed the sweep, right? Is DePra went 1-2 in the first draft, but is an exceptional limited player. So not good news for that pod.
Some minor blocking issues here and there, but apart from that,
minor block. Yeah, Dragon got in the way. Oh well. Anyway, no. I mean, DePra's an exceptional Magic player.
Oh God, no! I had him as a guest talking about Cube on Arena, and it was one of the best episodes I've ever done.
Yeah, and he thinks about the game at a level that is
it's like insane. It's shouldn't be happening.
No, I faced him in the last Arena Open, and that was it's just, anyways, moving on from that horror story. But that's the thing. There's a really high level, right? Because there's people that come in fully for constructed, and the problem with them is not the amount of time they spend in limited. They know their limited prep is not as good, so they spend more time, but they don't know what they're looking for, and they're not taking the right steps to actually learn. And I know this because, like, I had somebody from the Magic community in Canada who reached out before the Pro Tour. I was like, can you help me with limit? I'm like, look, I'm in a team, but like, if you ask me like point questions, like if you have a specific question, I can give you a specific answer. Like, that was the deal. Is a lot of my work with the Worldly Counsel team. Actually, let's show the screenshot instead of these questions, because I know the screenshot's coming to the team and it's a happy bunch. Mm-hmm. The thing with the team, right, is it's a lot about the holistic approach. When you're asking me point questions, it's the same as if we had a coffee chat. But I remember that question of, why are you playing Offender at Large rather than Suspicious Detonation? It was like in a sealed deck thing. And I was like, okay, so Offender of Large is actually a good card, and Suspicious Detonation is garbage. Very bluntly, that's my answer. But if you're asking me this question, it means you misunderstood the format, and I would try to understand the format now, because it means you didn't understand what's going on. That's actually much more vicious than the question on which card's better.
Yeah, and that, I think that has to go much deeper to answer that, because this is the Malcolm in the Middle dad trying to fix the drawer and ending up fixing the car because all of the things in the order were not working and he had to go. Because that, like, literally, if you ask why the detonation is not good, you have to go back. Okay, why is removal not good in general, or at least parts of removal not general, and especially the 5 mana removal is not good? why you cannot afford to pay 7 mana to kill some. Oh, well, this one actually doesn't need to pay 7 mana. But
yeah, and the problem is my promise is not to give the whole picture, that because the whole picture is the thing I give to the team. So
yeah.
I can at least inform him that.
Well, either that person was very smart and tried to lure you out by asking that question that they knew there's going to have the whole cascade of other answer, or there were deeper problems in there. Okay, shall we go to the Team Worldly Counsel part?
Oh yeah, I love this picture. This,
by the way, this picture is not from Chicago, hopefully.
Yeah. No. No.
I think Chicago in February looks slightly different. So that's
not as good.
Is that Vegas or?
No, this was Barcelona.
It was Barcelona. Okay.
Yeah, you notice as well in the picture, Li Shitian at the middle bottom. We're trying to go to always the European Magic Con because it's an opportunity for me to visit family, and we much prefer the Magic Cons in Europe to the US, personal reasons. So we try to make the one in Europe. It's summer as well. For us, it's kind of a holiday. So we came in and Lee can play the Pro Tour because he's on the Hall of Fame, and I was helping the team.
So he can pick the European one as an invite. Yeah. Well, let's say this year I'm not going, but I'm hoping that next year there's going to be an MC in London, and then I can move my. But don't expect sunshine then, though. Also.
Yeah.
But okay, so you were in charge of running the limited meetings for Team Worldly Counsel.
Yeah.
And I would like to stress the slides that are following are not my slides. I don't want to claim any authorship over them. I literally was sent your slides and I adapted them to my format for the visual consistency. And I did few maybe edits in words just to make things fit better on the slide, and that was it. I think that you agreed with most of the things that I did.
Yeah.
One graph that is from my Twitter friend, I guess we chat a lot. Another person that does quite a lot with data, NTG_DS, which stands for NTG Data Science. A user that I wholeheartedly recommend.
I appreciate you put the source because normally I do, but this time for personal reasons I was really this presentation was put on.
Well, I mean that was an internal presentation, different rules than for the outside world.
I still like acknowledging the people from the community that did the work because we're using their work, so it's really and it's pretty small ball to not acknowledge the work. What you do, what data science does, what the whole sentient landscape does, all of this stuff. Without it, we'd be blind. So I want to acknowledge it now. We always use that information. I always want to highlight it. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Okay. So wait.
Yeah, this is I
wanted to hear this mission statement. And why did you think it's so important that you made an entire slide with this mission statement in the beginning of the presentation?
Yeah. So the big thing, right, is because we have it, and I've done a few of these, is we have a team that's global and English is not a first language. The big thing is you want to communicate vision, and then the people on the ground communicate context. So this presentation is about opening the discussion. Depending on what the vibe is, it might do more than opening, and it might say what to do. And the idea is that then knowledgeable people on the ground, somebody might go oh, I want to understand more about this card, why? Then somebody on the ground will give that context. So this is about the vision. The big thing is, for every format, there's a vision, right, of what you want to do at that Pro Tour. So this is interesting to me because I work in design, and people think that a mission statement should be things like drafting a caller or this is what you want to do. My view on the mission statements is more contextual, which is what are we trying to accomplish here functionally? And I think what's important here, the reason I put this make your own deck work, is because I realized in my very first draft, it took me one draft to realize why I hate this format. I detest MKM. Not as much as LCI, though. LCI was truly horrible. But what I didn't like about this format, but what was important is you need to make your land drops 1 through 5. And when you don't, you could get away with 4, and I'll get into it with a 2-drop slide after. But the reason I said this was, it doesn't really matter what's going on your opponent's side because your opponent is playing 2/2s for free mana. Nobody cares about that stuff. What you care about is having board presence and pushing board presence. To do that, you need to curve out. And to curve out, your deck needs to function. If you miss your third land drop, the game's over. Now there's the Ben S, the proffing, but that was an exception, not the rule. Normally, when you miss your third land drop, I would put your odds of winning the game at under 20%, barring something weird. It is atrocious, truly atrocious to fall behind in this format. And the best way to not fall behind is to make your deck work. And we'll go through that in the presentation. There's formats where I'm like, okay, this is what you're trying to do. But in this one, just focus on your own deck. You can't waff around with the picks. There's 14 cards. You can't. So that means you have to kind of go into something. There are a bunch of bomb rares. If your deck doesn't function, you will get blown out by them. You need your deck to work to beat those bombs. You need to curve out and you need to maintain board presence. Everything else is irrelevant in the face of that. What your opponent actually has is not relevant most of the time. Apart from the very obvious best of free stuff, like, later I'll talk about, at the very end of the presentation, I'll talk about pick your poison because a bunch of the bombs are Vein Ripper, Ezra, etc. But that's a super obvious level 1 pick. The main thing here, which I get to, is it is so important to make your deck work that 18th land, if you don't have anything else, is important. That 1 and 2 drop thing, like I'll point it out as we go through it, but like everything you're going to see is about me talking about how your deck should be constructed in such a way that your deck is basically a variance buster of itself, because you have no chance if your deck falls flat in your hands in this format. Other formats you have time to catch up. This one you're dead. You're like straight up dead. You might as well not show up.
I had this. So it's nice that you frame it like this because that makes me realize. Yesterday I played a draft. I drafted like a blue-green kind of value pile. Maybe I had a splash or something. I put 18 lands because I know that those decks I can't miss a land drop, and I kept like 3-lander hands, and it was best of 1. And in 3 of the games, I just got stuck on 3rd land, and I didn't play the 4th one, and it was a game over for me. And it was so frustrating because those hands were keeps. I had a 2-drop. I had a disguise creature, whatever. I just needed 1 more land. I even, in one case, managed to crack a clue or something. And it was still not enough. I didn't draw my 4th land, and I got stuck on 3 lands for way too long.
And the game's over. It's just like
nothing I could do from there. I need to drop, and in blue-green, sometimes I need to make it till the 8th land because I have the bloody doppelgang.
Yeah. And there's also like investigate clues, so like flooding's bad, but it's not as bad as mana screw in this format. So but like, and I'm not going to insist too much on the mission statement because like usually I put the mission statement to frame the mindset and then I later explain it. So I wouldn't go that much deeper into it, but like so the next slide,
let's go with those graphs.
And then what I like to do is I like to put a data point that explains the format. So I did this I think I'm not sure I did it the very first time, but I think I did it for LOTR, and I definitely did this for WoW. Is I like to have a focal data focus. And this one to me was by far the best presentation because it basically tells you how insane 2-drops are in the set. And it's very simple as to why. The reason's super easy. It's you need to curve out, right? So you need to go 2, 3, 4. But a lot of the morphs, disguise creatures are flipped for 2. And a lot of the best ones flip to 2. So you need 2, 3, 2 plus 2. So like having more 2-drops, like even if it's a trick or whatever, you're hugely advantaged because you go like 2, 3, 2 plus 2, 2 plus 3, because you go like 2-drop plus, like you can play 4 and 5 drops, but those need to be played on turn 4 or 5. And if you miss a land, no. But if you play 2, 3, 2 plus 2 or 3 plus 2, like the math just works out that way. Like that's why the 2-drops are so good in this set. It's because it's 2, 3, 2 plus 2. That's it. It's very basic mathematics. This is why this set is not complicated. It's all about curving out, being on board, and adding up. There's nothing about this set that is that hard. The way I explained it to someone was it's high complexity because lots of disguised creatures, you need to remember that like the complexity is high. That's the trouble you might be having. The depth is low. It's all about attacking and maintaining board presence, and anything else doesn't matter. So the other thing that's important about my limited approach, and the thing I try to stress to the team is the ruthlessness of it. I am context is important. Be ruthless about it. Once you know the plan, Go in the plan. Don't deviate. Don't do anything. Don't waff around. Do it. When you deviate from the plan, you are hurting your win rate. So why are we doing this? Don't deviate. Like, just do the plan. Marcio didn't lose a game. Obviously, Marcio's insane. But like, one of the things he did is he understood this format, and then he was data informed. Like, that's an unbeatable combination. So the thing with him is he just drafted these like green aggressive decks, and all they would do is curve out. Just go 2, 3, 4.
And then you got the fanatical strength as a 2.
Yeah, I mean, he splashed Cold Case Cracker in a green-white deck because he had enough ways to do so. And because it helped that plan of 2, 3, 4. Because Cold Case, it's just, you need to understand what's going on, right? So once you do, it's very easy to build your deck because you're like, I need to push in damage, and my opponent can't really stop me pushing in damage.
How does this how does the Nervous Gardener fit on your plan? Because it's sort of like, on turn 4, you can just play 3+1. You spend all the mana, and at the same time,
I mean, that's fine. Like, Gardener is like, Gardener is good because like it's kind of a joker card. Like, it's always okay at any point in the curve. Like, it's a 2-drop. Like, you play it on 2 if your hand's good, or it's a free, or it's a free +1, right? You can go free.
Yeah, that's what I said. 3+1 that enables 3+2 on the next turn because you get.
It's a very versatile card. That's why it's good. I don't actually think it's powerful, as in like I think you're better off drawing other stuff in like perfect curving. But like, it just fits in wherever you need it. That's why it's good.
Okay, so let's talk about this graph.
Yes, this graph is excellent, by the way. This is definitely the graph of this set by far. That's why I put it there. Nothing explains the set better than this graph.
So here we have win rate, and cards are sorted by win rate, it seems.
Yeah, game in hand win rate.
Yeah, and that shows you the depth of the colors. And
in this case, it's depth of the mana cost.
Yeah, okay, because
but data science does do it in color, which is really nice. Actually, the color one is cool because it explains like one of the things with WoW, for example, is there was a lot of good green uncommons. So we were like, if an uncommon was missing from the pack, you could put your opponent on green like the vast majority of the time. So there's stuff like that that's really cool too.
Okay, so this is which color is which?
This is like numbers, so they're very small, but the red is 1. Like that 1 is Novice Inspector. It's common because Novice Inspector is a 1 and a 2. It's completely busted.
So orange, I guess, is 2s. Yeah.
Look at the long tail of the 2s. Like just compare that 2 to any of the other numbers, like the freeze. The 4s are like the disguise creatures.
The flatter that line, the deeper the roster for this particular mana value is, or for the color if you have the color graph.
Yeah.
You will see that some colors will be starting lower maybe, but then flattening out and being quite deep. And these are the colors you want to be in because then you will always have decent playables. So
the fact that it's by mana value tells you the color you want to be 2-drop tribal. And the 4s, right, are often freeze that flip into 2s. So even the 4s are disguised 2s.
This is the 4+ the blue, is it?
The 4 is the green line just below the yellow, the orange. The yellow is free and the blue is 5+, and you can see how 5+s suck. Sorry for the
they basically
like the uncommons are good, but like some specific uncommons are good, but that's it.
Well, some specific. That's a killer among us, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, sure.
And here still you see the depth of the 2-drops and how deep the roster goes. Does it have to do something with the number as well? Are there more 2-drops than anything else?
I'm not 100%. I mean, there are if you consider the turn 4 2+2, because the 4 drops that are free and then flip 2. I don't know. I think it was you or data science that also developed from there and said that this is a typical of sets. But in MKM, it's particularly nasty because of the 4 drops being freeze +2.
It must have been him. I actually didn't see that graph before. So
no, this is by far the best graph of this set. Once you see this and you get an explanation, like
I do love this graph style in general. I love it because it shows both the power level and the depth of the color, which is rarely how to do it. I always use the color graph that he does.
And it's cool because people love ranking colors. This is much more useful, arguably, to me.
Okay, let's move on from the mana value graph, which is great. Okay. Now we go to your great Excel skills.
I mean, great. I wouldn't go that far. This was
Well, you managed to emulate the look of 17 lands in Excel. That's something.
yeah. It's Control C and Control V. Anyways,
Well, mine doesn't copy you with the Scott style. I just
I did this in Google Docs, so maybe that or Sheets.
maybe that's the reason. Okay.
So the top is BO1 and the bottom is BO3. The reason I put BO1 and BO3 is because you need context, right? BO3 on Arena is a little wonky and like the win rate's higher, but it's still technically more accurate. It's just there's less data. So like you need BO1 to get an idea, and you need BO3 to get an idea. So like I like having both to give context to the team. So like what I explain here is you're looking at often stats from BO1. Understand that those stats are based on these win rates. So like if you look at Boros, it's like S tier, so to speak. Like it's way beyond what's normal. And then like Simic is A, right, and stuff like that. But then we go to BO3, and I do add the ones that have low play rate or low games. And I'm like, actually, the colors are a lot more balanced. You know, the story of the format, like for me, I think Dimir and Rakdos are the two color pairs I'd rather avoid. But like honestly, you could draft any color pair in this format in best of 3, because in best of 1, like Boros curve outs with people on rank that don't know what they're like, just it's over. But like the thing is, when you're like in a rougher draft and like you have to kind of make things work, there's a lot going on. So the important part about this is going, you know, green is a very good color in best of 3 because it gives you the most optionality in your archetypes compared to white. But white is still very good, right? And the white aggressive bases are good. But what I want to do with this is break the construct about colors away and go into what we want. And the next slide on this is very important, is you need to understand how the archetypes work. It's very rare that an archetype's actually playable. So by the way, this looked a lot better for WoW, because for Wilds of Eldraine, there were a lot more commons and uncommons that were good in specific archetypes. So like there were a bunch of little green squares, and it was really interesting, but this set is way too basic for me.
Oh, so green squares are the archetype specific cards. And
yes.
I guess that this set is very generic in terms of like, if it's a good thing, it's a good thing in anything.
Look,
like
Novice Inspector, Inside Sword, Dog Walk,
yeah.
like it's all high. Like the big thing, what I did for this is I kind of like mixed BO1 and BO3. So like I looked at BO1 and then I looked at BO3, and I kind of like did a mishmash. So this isn't perfect. Very easy to remember. This is for a Pro Tour, so again, it's also temporality. So I usually exclude the first 2 free days of data when I can.
Very smart. I 100% endorse it. I even would go.
I do a week
whenever I can. Whenever I can, I remove the first 2 weeks of data completely.
Yeah, like I usually do 3 days after 2 weeks. I do a week after three and a half weeks. At the very end of a format, I might do 2.
Yeah, because it's also not only that the early data is lower quality because people don't know what they're doing yet. It's also a lot of it. Like most games are played in the first 2 weeks, and then also inflates the bad habits in the data.
It's also non-adjusted, aka like you want to know what happens when people start adjusting their picks. So here, the big discovery for me, I put Fairy Snoop in black-green, but it's actually good in other black archetypes, which I didn't spot in time. Actually, no, I detailed that in the Discord before the PT. So like Fairy Snoop is like nobody takes that card, but I actually realized it's a terrible blue card. It's a fantastic black card. It like ranked consistently pretty high on the black commons, and like black is the worst color, but you're in a pod, that can happen. So like it's super important to understand what to take. Like, actually, the more I looked at the data, the more I liked Fairy Snoop, in terms of like, because the black decks are bad because it's a lot easier to push board presence than it is to gain board presence away from your opponent, right? That's why I said make your own deck work, because stopping your opponent's rough. So the thing was, but that's a perfect black card. It gains board presence and advances your gameplay. It's great on 2 fronts. And Fanatical Strength was in Gruul, like by far the best, like actual unbeatable. Oh, 1 second. Oh, sorry, I heard like noise. It's fine. But Fanatical Strength, truly fantastic. Like,
well, it's also because maybe doesn't have, like in Selesnya you have On the Job, which will probably take at least part of the functionality of Fanatical Strength, and it has a higher capacity of going wide, while Gruul really wants to go tall. So sometimes you have this load-bearing couple of 1/1s to chump block a 7/7, and then Fanatical Strength just makes mockery out of that.
Yeah. One thing that's important in this craft that I don't I explained. I don't remember when I explained it in the presentation, but I did explain it to the team at one point. There is no replacement for the good creatures. All the spells in this format are actually pretty good, honestly. Like you have, I mean, I was talking about suspicious detonation, but it's still playable. The big thing is you can't replace good spells with medium spells because the tricks are so good, and we'll go into that. You can't replace the good creatures. There is nothing like Insight Source. If you're in like Boros, nothing's Person of Interest. There are no cards that emulate what Dogwalker does. So like, if you take
Person of Interest does it, but then that's still a good card. Or an Insight Source does it, but it's still a good card. Yeah.
Yeah, but one of the things I was talking about was Lightning Helix against Insight Source in Boros. Insight Source often comes up on top because, yes, Lightning Helix is great, fantastic card, obviously. But you can live without Lightning Helix in your Boros deck, but you can't live without.
I know. I stopped picking like Lightning Helix over those creatures that make multiple bodies because there's just like, I will never win with a deck that doesn't have at least 4 or 5 cards that make multiple bodies, and I can win with a deck without Lightning Helix easily.
And that's what happened to me in my first draft. I drafted Boros, I went 2 free, and then I studied why. And I was like, okay, I had free Lightning Helix. Why did I lose 2 free? What happened? I missed my third land drop every time. I didn't, but I didn't have the 2/1. Lightning Helix was very poor against what my opponent was doing, and I didn't have the good creatures. And I was like, okay, I understand. And after that draft, I just trophied nonstop. And it's about understanding the format. Once you understand the format, everything's easy. We can move on as well to the uncommons. So with the uncommons, I do this too.
I just like Bite Down on Crime. I mean, that card, wow.
Oh, yeah, that card's messed up, right? Because it's like damage, like it's board presence, stealing plus damage, like and maintain, like it's also,
and it punches up as well, like by a lot. Like
it punches up.
The plus 2 is just such a big difference compared to the regular.
Sometimes also what happens is they have like it makes them trade as well, like your terrible creature for the want. Like,
oh yeah, so often I'm just like kill the bigger thing, and I'm attacking with my 4/2, and now you take 4 or you trade your 4/4. Good luck.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Okay, let's go with the uncommons.
Yeah, I mean, we can skip this quickly, but like Perimeter Enforcer was really important in Azorius. Like,
I think that the Perimeter Enforcer, mainly if you look at the data, is just not so great in multiple other white archetypes. Like white-black, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, this is a good way to like visualize. If I put green, it means that this card is specifically good in the specific archetype, but it's not a gold card. Like Private Eye is high in Azorius. I'm not going to put that in green. It's very obvious where it's good. Like,
Scene of a Crime. Scene of a Crime. That's
yeah, Dimir was that bad. Like it was pretty terrible.
You really, really want to hope that they don't play this weird main deck version of
what Scene of the Crime that high meant was that it was an 18 or 19 land deck. That's what that means. It's a deck that often wants to splash.
And wants to splash because they definitely won't get there on their own color.
Right. So that's what's important about that card being high. It's not that it's necessarily just the high pickup. It's what does it mean about the color combination. I also highlight in green things like that. Like this is what this implies with this archetype. And then the next one is you also see Reckless Detective being super high, but again, the various busting is important. But like, yeah, and then this is a combined, and obviously uncommons are higher. That's normal. One of the important things about this is realizing like when to jump into archetypes. So like, is it, for example, doesn't have that great a common suite, but their Gleaming Geardrake and Satchel are so insane, right? That like basically they justify going into blue-red. But you kind of need the commons and uncommon slide to get that. Because like if you look at something like Selesnya, Buried in the Garden is like 5th. Like, I mean, it's a good card, but like, you know, it's fine. It's more important to just have bodies on the table. At that time, it might have changed since then, right?
I think it's still like that, and I think that it's also like white in this set. The uncommons are not like busted or anything. This is a color that is so good because it's mainly driven by the commons, and you know, Makeshift Binding, Novice Inspector, Insight Source, and that's enough, I guess.
And that's the thing is all of this stuff just repeats. But you'll notice a lot of the top cards are creatures and not spells.
By the way, if you have a first pick, would you pick a Novice Inspector or Dogwalker?
What was the second one? Sorry.
Dogwalker and Novice Inspector.
I would just check the archetype. I guess like you can't really replace Novice Inspector, so I guess that if like off the top of my head, I would check, but that's off the top of my head.
All right. No, I'm just asking. I'm just trying to get, because there are some people that will pick a dog walker, some people that pick novice inspector. I'm on the novice
I think,
inspector
by the
camp.
way, this discussion
But
of P1 is usually off put. Like the main thing is, what is your P1 P5? If you ever want to get better at limited, stop thinking about P1 P1s and start thinking about P1 P5s. Because literally P1 P1s, you have 17 lands, and 17 lands is exactly perfect for P1 P1s. No context needed. You don't even need to go deep into the data. Whereas like P1 P5, that's a rough one. You usually have 2 or 3 playables. You might go like, I need to change color. What do I do here? What's the context? Like that's the actual tough picks. Like
I fully agree with you. But as a content creator, if I ask you that question, I have to provide you with 20 minutes of context, and that makes it boring.
I
P1,
know, I
P1,
know.
easy answer now. Boom, move on.
Yeah, right. Like
It's like
it's
Brass
not
Eye. I don't know if
yeah.
you watched Brass Eye ever, but there were some
Oh,
interviews in the Brass Eye. It was like the 90s sort of news satire program in British TV.
oh, sure.
And they always had this kind of like a fake opinion question. You answer now. No, you. Let's change the topic. Boom. Something flip, and it tried to be artificially American style dynamic while being completely incomprehensible.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. And that's the thing with P1 P1s is like, honestly, I would just look at like that week's metagame at that time with that data, like because it's very easy. Whereas like P1 P5s is so context dependent as well. But I get it. It's much more fun to go like, oh, I opened the pack. What do I take? It's like, yeah, whatever.
I think that also like people like, so often I get questions on Discord or whatever about deck building advice, and very few people ask you about the draft look analysis. And I think that deck building advice, I very often look at it and I see, well, yes, something went wrong in there, but for me to properly diagnose it, I would rather see how you managed to get there, because
Yeah,
I think that for you not getting there, you need to understand why you got there and what was wrong in getting there,
yeah.
rather
I agree.
than just looking at the end result of the earthquake and trying to rebuild how the
That's a good way
tower
to.
should be
That's a
looking.
good way to put it. Like, I don't want to see the destroyed building. I need to analyze the earthquake.
Okay.
Yes.
This I definitely did some trimming, but I think I kept most of the sense.
Yeah. So this is like the only slide I have with a ton of text, but like this is also like I just read it, explain it. It's a good like, we've gone through like things where I speak a lot. This is a good eye rester in terms of like, okay, I just want to read. So like this is my read slide. I usually recap the pod draft. So in Wilds of Eldraine, this is much more interesting because blue online was not drafted, but like in an actual pod, like green beat the red decks, red beat the blue decks, and blue beat the green decks. But you don't get the dynamic online because blue is so bad versus red. But like that was why like Apple and Twisted Fealty were so good. It's because it allowed the red decks to beat the green decks. So those cards had a high win rate because they allowed red to beat green. So they were allowed to reverse a matchup that was bad for them, and their win rate went way higher. So anyways, that's a possible drain one. This one is a lot. There's a lot of hybrid cards, gold cards, etc. So this is a lot less. It's more. This is why I talk about focusing on your own deck. When you have hybrid cards, when you have like color depth, just do your own thing. It doesn't matter what your opponent's doing, honestly. You're probably going to get 20 free playables in your color if you pick one of the reasonable archetypes. So I go with white because it's universal with all. As long as you open the right, white blue needs the uncommons. That's the only thing. Like you need the private eye, you need the enforcer. But if you get them, it's excellent. I put that green is close to white, and honestly, might be better in best of three for that pro tour. Black is the worst color by far, but I give like some black scenarios, right? That you have Fairy Snoop defensively, you have Stun and Gorehound aggressively, or you open Vein Rippers. Just play Vein. That's how I got into black. I was like, oh, I got Vein Ripper. I guess I'll play black. Cool. And then the thing with Vein Ripper is like when you have it, you want to play more dig effects. Like that's why Fairy Snoop has a high win rate, right? It's because if you're playing black, you probably have bombs like Deadly Cover Up, Vein Ripper, which means you want to dig to them, which is why Fairy Snoop is good. Okay. So then there's tons of so one of this is important, right? This priority should be on the best creatures, then spells. Green is the only color where the spells are important. That's why Bite Down on Crime was so high. It's because there's not a lot of great green spells, but that one's great. And the thing is, that's why I think green is quite good in the set too. Is all the other colors you have the top tier creatures, and then you have dross like garbage. So, but green has decent creatures across the board. So, like, it's really hard to have a deck that doesn't function if you're green. Like, it might be bad, but it's not like totally horrible. Whereas, like, what's the difference between Makeshift Binding and Auspicious Arrival? Actually, quite frankly, it's not that high. It's not like there's a death touch creature. It's not like anything's going to stop you from.
Like I'm probably more willing to splash makeshift binding than I'm likely to splash.
Yeah, but then you look at makeshift binding as a green card, right? It's not a white aggressive card. So that's what I mean is like the spells and the colors are quite replaceable. Like in blue, like does it matter if you have deduced, reasonable doubt, unauthorized X? Not really.
Probably ice out. I think I'm want to have one copy in my blue aggressively.
Cold, out cold, sure. Like
out cold,
that's a unique card. I agree with out cold. I actually talk about it as an underrated card later too. The uncommons, the reason I talk about is white's easier to draft because the commons in white are deep, whereas in green the uncommons are good. So like usually you want to start in green, but if you don't get the good blue, red, or mono green cards, like that's where you want to be white. It's because you're probably going to get you get a novice inspector pick 4 or 5. No matter how good that card is, you get a good white card at some point. There's too many good white commons. It's really hard to start in white and have a total train wreck. It isn't impossible, but it's harder. Especially at the PT with like random, like no, I say random people in the sense of people with different draft preferences and skill levels, not like as a denigratory term here. It's okay to focus on like deep colors for that reason. And then I put that BO3 archetypes are all playable, but there are less cards overall. The big thing we realized also as a team, this was actually a team effort rather than just me, was that the pack depth isn't that high. So like you can't like waft around. You can take a few hybrid cards, right? Like a Granite Witness, but then you realize blue's not that great. So like you're probably a white card anyway. Like there's not much you can do. You got very few picks to go. You got 39 cards. A lot of those cards, because of how the packs are, you may not have a pick in your call. There's a lot of reasons your deck might not even have 23 playables. So it's important to stick to the plan.
Luckily, you can play 18 lands in this format.
And should in a lot of cases. Okay, next one here, I think. Yeah, so I talk about, like I had this for Wellsville Drain. There were 9 cards, and in this set there's a lot less. Just go with it. I like Escape Tunnel just because there's a lot of decent gold cards you can open, right? Like Tolsimir has a really high win rate in Boros. It's like the only card I would probably splash in that deck. So like, but like you need the mana fixing because you can't afford to have bad mana in that deck. So Escape Tunnel goes up. The 2/1 Automaton, I would much rather take that earlier because everybody's taking good cards, so this one kind of floats around. The 1 free also kind of goes into this, I guess, because of the tricolor archetypes. You need variance busting. This is very good at that. Like, there's a lot of decks I have where this, probably the worst card in the deck. But if you're drawing this, there's a lot of times this saved me so hard. And I got to play a game of Magic, and without that, I would not have played a game of Magic. And that's worth the card on its own by far. And then I talk about hybrid cards, right? Like obviously like having a hybrid card is better because it's artifact-ish. So.
Yeah, so that's funny that you say that because every set I do the analysis of ALSA, but I don't look at ALSA generally. I look at ALSA in different packs because it's different. And there are a few categories of cards that go differently between pack 1 and pack 3. And one thing, multicolor cards, and I didn't check those hybrid cards, they are slightly different than multicolor per se, are usually cards that go earlier in pack 1 but late in pack 3, which makes sense. People want to get identity early, and then in pack 3 very often they just can't put them in their deck because they're already locked for a different color combination, so it makes sense. But it's the complete opposite with fixing, and especially like Evolving Wilds. This type of cards will go late in pack 1 because people look for identity, therefore underappreciate fixing. And in pack 3, they are just like trying to get any fixing dramatic.
Yeah, because they took those gold cards. Yeah, I mean, it's much better to have the solution to a problem and not need to solve it than it is to have a problem.
So yeah, I mean, your approach of early Escape Tunnel, it's not only that it's going to be good because it's good to have fixing, and it's good to be prepared to get that Tolsimir if you need to, but it's also going to be good because pack 1 is where you're going to get the Escape Tunnel much more easily than pack 3. Because they can say what they want. Pro players are still humans, and human nature still applies to them. I looked at the last 10 sets, and in each of those last 10 sets, every single time, if there was an Evolving Wilds, it went earlier in pack 3 than in pack 1. They will do the same. If you
it's always going to be the case, right? So you'd rather be, because the thing is the power level is lower in pack 1 because people take the best cards. So as a result, you want to take the fixing, and then in pack 2 and free, all these cards that nobody can play. You got them. So you got to
exactly.
You got to plan
and
for
you
the.
benefit, like it's
very much
whammy
like
of,
the I don't know what the English name is, but in French it's like cigale la fourmi. It's like the the person who prepares versus the person who's tried to save themselves. It's like I'd rather be the person who prepares.
The grasshopper and the ant, or
yeah, something. No, the ant prepares. It's
ant
grasshopper
prepares and the grasshopper was the playing fiddle or something.
Yeah, so like that's the key for me is, essentially. Sorry, I'm gonna put on the light because it's getting dark here, but so it might appear bright.
And luckily, I'm already in the deep depths.
It'll adjust. Am I too bright? I'm okay-ish. Anyway,
you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah,
you're fine. We can still see the trophies.
That's the most important thing, right? Si la formica e la cigala. Cicala. Sorry, I definitely mispronounced that. But basically, I should be cool if everybody in their native language could.
La formica e la cicala.
See. Oh yeah, because you were in Italy, right?
No, my wife is Italian, but
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So this is from Mixamotosis. It's, are you guys saying it is more beneficial to take this kind of open cards pack one, even if you might have a stronger card in pack? Usually, like a lot of top level players don't like committing. Like there are reasons to commit. Like I had a really hard pick in the Arena Open. I know I took, what was it? I took Detective Satchel over Neighborhood Guardian, and that was a really rough pick. I should have probably taken the Guardian, but the thing was, like, the ceiling on Detective Satchel is a lot higher than Guardian. But according to my own, so that was a rough one. And the weird part about that draft is blue red was open, but pack one, the packs opened weird. So I couldn't, like, I got shock pick 7 pack 1, but by that point I was in green white because of how the packs broke, because it was like Bloomkin into the green white surveil land into Novice Inspector, and there were no blue or red cards, and then like shock was picked up, like, so it was a really weird draft. But anyways, that was a weird pick. But like what I mean here is it is much better to, because the thing is, if you need that automaton, like you don't have fixing for your 2-drop slot in your early plays, you're going to be so desperate for this card. And when you don't have it, you're just going to lose a match. You have no chance of winning. So like, I'd rather, everybody's going to take the highest card, and I'm still telling you to take the best card. But like, if it's close, right? Like if we're saying like, if you're talking about a filler card that like, oh, I might play this versus like a piece of mana, a good piece of mana fixing, go for it. Also, this format is secretly a 10-7 or 11-6 format when you play white, because all the good white cards are double white, and you often want to play a white spell. And I made that mistake to play like 9-8 instead of like 10-7 or even 10-6-1 sometimes. So
I usually play like 9-7 Escape Tunnel.
Yeah, there's a lot of
that's my frequent mana base in
white.
And
it turns out that 10-6-1 might be better, because like when you can't flip that double white card, it's just awful.
Yeah, and you get the gargoyles, you got the dog walkers.
You need to flip them, and often you want a 2-drop trick. So like you often want free. So anyways, but yes, these cards go up pack 1 because you want to be ready for things that might go wrong.
Okay, let's move to this slide, and this is the slide that doesn't have any words, and you have to walk me through it because
but that's
it's
like
an amalgam. But I assume that
8,000 words.
18 lands are important. Sanitation Automaton is important.
Detective. Oh my God, Reckless Detective is. Whew.
That card is so good.
Well, that card is unbelievable.
It's like so especially hard in this to kill it.
Well, okay, so this set is full of 2/2s. This is a 2-free. This set is all about making your deck work. This is a variance buster. It's a 2-drop in a set of premium 2-drop. Like, it's just unbelievable. Anyways, this whole, and honestly, the Eliminate the Impossible is super important, because in the sealed open or qualifier, like I was gonna lose, and I literally went Eliminate 2, Crack Clue for my third land, and I was behind, but I wasn't dead. What I mean by this is, it's even a card as bad as cycling Eliminate the Impossible is on turn 2 is still worthwhile as a consideration, because not hitting your third land drop is game over. So all these cards, the way I like to structure my decks in this format is to have 17 lands minimum, and then plus free variance busters that get me mana. So I'm talking the 18th land, Novice Inspector, Deduce, even something as bad as Eliminate, Reckless Detective, the Automaton, the Panther's fantastic, the Tipster, anything that allows me to bridge the gap from 2 to 3. And I want 20 of those cards in my deck. If I go to 22 or 23, even better, but that's really hard to actually manage. Oh, the important part about all this, because that's why like I had a tweet about land cyclers that should be evergreen, and this was it. Like land cyclers in this set are like Panther, not necessarily the highest win rate, but it's like the thing is it betrays that when you don't hit your land, the win rate of that card is basically 100% because, well, I mean, whatever it is, because you go from you move a 10% to like a 50 to 60. So like it might as well be like Panther when it's your third land is the best card in your hand. It's better than any bomb in the set. It's just unbelievable. So that's like what I'm getting at with this slide. Yes, I said +3 variance busters. So Novice Inspector cycle, Deduce cycle, Eliminate the Impossible, horrible cycle, but still. Automaton, Reckless Detective, the 18th land, the Panther, the Tipster. There's probably a few others. I didn't get all of them, but like that's why I dumped all of this stuff in here. Is essentially you need to get that third land. And actually you need 4th and 5th, at least free mana. You can play the game at free mana. You're behind, but you're not dead. If you don't hit your third land drop, though, the game's over. Maybe if you're on the play and you hit it right away, you might be okay, but it's like mulliganing essentially.
It's going to be complicated. Yeah, I think that so many times people have opportunity of playing this 18 or even 19 lands when they have a couple of projector inspectors that you know that you can loot those lands later in the game, and they still don't take that opportunity to play more.
Yeah, I almost played 19 lands in my sealed deck at an RCQ. I played 18. That was a mistake. I should play 19 or 18 plus the shitty case, the 2-mana one. Just like because the consideration is you play Magic versus you don't. And in this set, not playing Magic it's over. You are dead. There's nothing you can do to come back almost. It's so bad.
By the way, this is like one thing that I noticed in the data of cards like Topiary Panther. Lots of those cards that have a duality of use that are not obvious, because this is not obviously a split card, but it is a split card. It's either lay of the land, lay the land, or Dreadmaw. That's basically the very poorer version of the Dreadmaw versus poorer version of lay of the land. You need to sort of put them in the decks when you at least expect one of the modes to be played 20% of the time. If you want to play it 100% of the time as one of the modes, probably you're playing just a very undervalued card because
but this card usually get to do both modes a decent amount, and the thing with it is it'll help you splash. It's also 6-drop. It nourishes like 2 commons, right? Bite Down on Crime and the 1 free, the 2 Gauzy Inspector. Isai MTG, the colorless case, I will use Andrew Cunio's quote, which is, "You are allowed to add any number of basic lands to your deck." That's my view on that card. Unless obviously there might be some reasons to run it. Fun is one, but sometimes you actually somehow manage all the colors.
Come on, you just want to play it in your Niv Mizzet decks.
Yeah. Like there's some reasons to run it that are like, but like most of the time a basic land is better. What was the team limited win rate overall of the PT? Let me get the exact one because I know that our team leader posted this. We were removing team kills is important because obviously.
Well, that doesn't change anything. That's a mirror matchup.
No, it does, right? Because if your win rate tends up, the
you will lower your
and reverse. So like it does matter, but 64% is what we got, but we got 50% in constructed, so work to be done there. And it's beyond the scope of this. Like I'm trying to figure out a theory system for constructed. That's beyond the scope of this time, and it's really rough.
It's just the data available is so bad.
That's one thing. The second thing I think for constructed, though, is I know there's a problem because we're testing the same way constructed we have been for 15 years, and there's no way the methodology from 15 years ago is correct. So I methodology. So I know that constructed is like 100%. There's a methodology out there to search, and I'm trying to figure it out, and it's not easy, but I know for a fact that there's something out there. Anyways. But yeah, that was our
okay
team.
Now I understand the slide better.
Sure. But yeah, this is the slide. Yeah, it's like the thing is, here's the thing: if you're against an opponent that doesn't hit their first land drop in this format, it's not like game over, but it's pretty over, honestly.
I do a small fist pump if that happens. Not that I like my opponent to suffer. I just like winning.
Yeah, but it's almost like they mulligan to 5 or 4 off.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah,
so
it is.
brutal. Because like you have tricks and they can't.
That's why,
follow up.
like best of one, I played a lot of best of three this format just because I was a bit tired with like keeping 3 landers and never drawing the 4th land. Because that's also
okay.
pretty bad. I 2 landers, you know, at least I asked for it. But if you keep a 3 lander and never draw the 4th land, it just like feels life is unfair. Shuffle it got
and
me.
you need your opponent to be able to do that a few times too. Like, it's just like the problem, right? Is let's say you miss your third land drop, and then like, oh, I finally got my third land. What are you playing? Like a 2/2. It's horrible. You have no chance. The game's over. Anyways, yeah, that's why like I put a high priority of this. This is a big reason I talk about taking creatures over spells, is that the tricks are all great. I think they're all pretty much great. Like, I don't think there's a trick that's horrible.
There's the blue one.
Oh, the 4 even that trick's not that bad. The behind the mask, it's not the worst.
Behind the mask. Yeah,
it's not even the worst one. Like, it's still playable. Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying it's fine. Like, but the bad blue creatures are truly horrible. So,
okay, yeah.
That's the point. Is like, you can always replace your spells, but you can't replace your good creatures. So, Fanatical String, Hospice Survival, the Chase is on. Like, every time I have these cards in my deck, I'm super happy. Like, it's very easy because your opponent has to tap out at some point, and even if they have a removal, what are they going to do? Target your Ward 2 creature? Like, come on. It's just, blocking is so atrocious in this format. Your opponent attacks with like 2/2/2s with 5 mana up. What are you doing? Like, you have no shot. That's also why like I try to race in this format unless my deck is very specific. Like, if I'm defensive, then no. But like, I almost always try to race even if it looks like I'm losing the race, because I'm never winning blocking. So there's no point to block. So I might as well like try to be aggressive. A lot of times in that spot, my opponent was ahead and I'll lose. But sometimes I get there. I get a Grenade Witness at the same right time. I double the tricks up and I get there. And I give myself that shot. When I'm not aggressive, their life total is high, there's no chance. Because I can't ever put pressure, and blocking is terrible.
I think Infinite Breakfast in the chat knows a thing or two about tricks, as they just did a full episode of their podcast on combat tricks in the format. So
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, Fanatical Strength is, there's so many spots in this format. Like, it's the only one that doesn't draw cards, so it's important to note. But it's the only card in this format where opponent attacks with a bunch. Like, on the job with a whiteboard's bad, but like that card is sometimes you can't win. Like, you're like a low life total and they attack with a bunch, and you're like, well, I'm dead, I guess.
Yeah, I was playing some kind of a white green, and I didn't have On the Job, and I decided to play Hustle Bustle instead. Card worked. If I hit 6 mana, I just won every single game that I played.
The whole problem is it's 6, but unlike Fuss Bobber, right? Like, where you hit free and both modes are great. Yeah.
Okay, card combos.
So card combos go from...
You dedicated a lot of space to card combos, and I was wondering, I see why you do it, because I do it in my content, and it's interesting, and it makes people think about, but why so much space on card combos specifically?
These are quick slides, so these go fast. But the idea is for people to be aware of upside in this format. I usually go from most likely and things you should know about to least likely, but might come up. I think like one example, for example, from March of the Machine was Aki, Scrap Trawler, and Beatstick. And then I talked about, which was cooler, you know the 2/2 Flying Vigilance where you have to play 2 spells?
Yeah.
Like Xerox Strobe Knight?
Yeah.
If you had that with the green +2/+2, you could just win.
Green +2/+2, which...
It untaps. It was 1 green +2/+2 untap. So like, you could even do it on their turn sometimes.
So you cast it, tap, untap.
Yeah.
Tap.
So like, in response to playing it, you tap it for a night, you untap it, you get another one, and then you block, and then you could literally like 3 for 1 out of 1 trick.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, but yeah, this is important, like, more because it's just the normal thing of the format. Like, anybody who plays the drafts on Arena knows this, but like, it's still important to realize. We'll go for these quickly. I'll go for that. So this is more to highlight the case of the Flinch faction more than the Geardrick. Like, the Geardrick's great, but it's more like this blue case might wheel. If you're in blue-red, pay attention because of this. So next, same thing here, like Drone Smith, not a high pick, right? What I do with this is like low-ish picks and why you might want them. And this is
Drone Smith also with the Geardrake, if you manage to last with the top turtle.
But it's not as good, right? Like a +1/+1 counter isn't like a 1/1 boss.
Yeah, no, of course.
Not the same. This one was interesting. I didn't even think this was that good. I did say not to do too much of this.
Just discard it and return it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, whatever, sometimes. This one I had this I kicked myself because I had it in my steel pool and I didn't realize it. And I was like, but at least I don't think I would have won a game with it. But like, and the escape tunnel isn't small because it's a bonus to the combo. It's like you basically flip the Falcon, give them like 15 cards, draw like whatever. Well, obviously don't deck yourself. And then you like
Don't give them the memory.
yeah, whatever. Like hopefully they're tapped out or whatever, and then you just like, oh, I'll have a 16 power flyer. Yeah. Yeah, don't give them the memory. That's the good one. This was our teammate that figured this one out. It's really cool. Like Barb Servitor is not that good, but like it's
yeah, but I've seen torching it.
Yeah, so
torching it is the way to go. I think
it's more like if you have torch, pick this up because maybe you're a multicolor green deck and this is your win condition. Like, yeah, so this was important because just the rules interaction that some like what's important. One of the big things with the methodology we have is don't presume people's limited skill. So it's okay to talk about basic stuff even at a high level because people miss out on this stuff all the time. Don't presume people know everything. This is very simple, and it's like basically like if you have a surveil land, take this higher, and if you have that and you see a surveil land, it's higher. Like it's important.
Yeah, no, I mean it's so easy to miss that this is basic land type and not a basic land.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cute one.
I know, but like Presumed Dead is a card that like goes unbelievably late and is
and
good stats. It's one of the better black uncommons too.
Yeah, you would ask people and they might not figure out that it actually flips the more.
Yeah, then it's and it helps you get value out of low value commons because like that also happens at the PT. One of the things with these card combos is I try to highlight common, like obviously the first common with the unicorn and the dog walk or whatever, but like this one is important because people are going to pass this trick late when it's good, and you will definitely get a Halion or whatever late. Important to know this stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's so good with even the 1/1 rat because the 1/1 rat will trade now with the 3/3, and then will trigger a second time, so it will become a 3/4/2, 3/4/2, which is, and you still get the rat body to use for something. No.
All right. Yeah, and then this one was.
That's too cute.
I usually put the Pipe Dream combo at the end. Like the stuff that's like the least.
Come on, Pipe Dream combo is clearly must be Projector Inspector, Curious Cadaver, and Chalk Outline.
That's is that infinite? No.
No, it's not infinite. You need 2 mana to activate.
Oh, I didn't even put that down, but yeah, sure, whatever. Like, I don't get every card combo, and also this one I did very fast. But yeah, it's more pay attention to stuff. But like this set, honestly, again, is very simple. I don't think it's super complicated. I don't think it's honestly very deep. So the card combos are a bit lower than say Wilds of Eldraine, which I thought Wilds of Eldraine was a much more interesting, complex set.
Okay.
This is important. There were a lot more in Wilds of Eldraine, and there were a ton more in March of the Machine. This is one of the more important slides every time. Forget the red circle. I forgot to delete.
Okay, so I was wondering what the red circle was, and I assumed that it was a leftover from something else.
Sorry.
I also didn't know if they are arranged in the shape because it's imported, or is it just random?
The important part is the color. It's basically Perimeter Enforcer is a blue-white card.
Okay.
Hasda Vigilante is a white-black card. Vitu-Ghazi Inspector is a green-blue card. And Fairy Snoop is a green-black card.
Well, there we go. You heard it here first.
So this, for example, in WoW, this slide had the green and black squares with Griffinary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Of course, yeah. Because it was a Golgari card. But again, always supposed to be splashed. Yeah.
But again, this set is like mostly straightforward. The only, I guess, technically person of interest is like a red-white card. But that one I didn't put in. I maybe should have, but like I honestly, looking back, I should have. But it is good in most red archetypes, but in red-white, it's particularly nasty. But it's also good in black-red. Like in black-red,
the earlier you want to win, the better it becomes. And I think that the clearly red-white is the deck that is capable of the most early wins in this format. Yeah. Actually, I might after we're done with your slides, I might put a couple of figures that I made a couple of days ago, and we can go through them and chat.
Sure. So one of the big things here is black-red, because you have so many good spells. Like removal, you want 2-for-1 bodies. So person of interest very good in black. So these were overrated cards. Okay, so one of the thing with overrated cards is the slide for this was way longer in Wilds of Eldraine, and I realized it's a mistake to do so because a lot of people overrate rares, but like because there's gems and stuff. So I kind of stopped myself and went, okay, realistically, what do I think at the PT people might overrate? Removal was one. Case of the Trample Garden was one because we were talking about playing. I'm like, this card's just garbage. Misplay Spy.
That card.
It's awful.
I mean, I've been beaten by it. It happened. But
Sure,
also,
okay.
I mean, so many times I'm just playing and I feel like, oh, it's a gimme, basically.
So like, okay, Minguchi put it best when he tried it. It's like, okay, so you spend 5 mana to have 2 clues. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the Case of the Pilfered Proof wasn't that it was bad. It was true, like, as it was picked low, but it was like, I see people put this in their deck. Do not. It is truly better to have any off-color basic than to have that card in your deck.
But you said 2-drops are important. No,
Yeah,
I agree with that.
It's a blank piece of cardboard.
I agree. I tried the card. I tried, and it just never has a good spot. It's like
yeah. That's one difference with a PT.
You play it on turn 2, it's bad because you didn't play a 2-drop, and you play it on turn 5, it's bad because it doesn't do shit. No.
Yeah. No, go for it. All right.
Why did you put the Drone Smith on the list? Well, before that, you told me that it's a combo.
Yeah. So sometimes like you have to put the card combo, but it's overrated. It's kind of one of those things where like you're probably never actually going to do it because people rate it higher than you do. So as a result, you're not going to have it in your deck. But you still put the card combos because it's important for people to know what's up. Like you never know.
Card. It's just like not a high.
Well, like if in your day 2 draft, if people know when it comes, then you have to know that it's good in some context. That's important. And then these are
and here is the underrated cards, also known as green.
Yeah, pretty much. Like Fester Leech is a very strong black uncommon. Like it has a surprisingly high win rate because it's good in defensive and aggressive black decks. Because like you keep the mana open, so they can't really attack into it.
Exactly.
And, it's very good.
You attack with it, or you
and they don't block. So you like it's very good. Yeah, and green like get a leg up always goes late and it's super. It's like one of the better green uncommons. Like all these cards are great.
And mutation. It's what
people underrate mutation. What a card it is. 6. I mean.
I don't get it. I love mutation in any form.
I think it's because people think it's good. They don't realize it's busted.
Okay, maybe that's the
thing. That's what's actually going on. Like
I think that lots of people still till today don't know that you can just cast it as
like I would frustrate this, no problem. Like, yeah.
It did happen. It did happen for me.
Yeah, of course. But like people pass it. It's And then this is important because I don't usually do too much stat adjustments because most of the team knows what's up. But what I do for this is a lot of the team might use best of 1. So what I try to do is an analysis. So when the set's older too, before the PC, I'll also do a week 1 to week 2 difference. But here what I do is I go like, okay, well, this is worse in best of 3. So Frantic Scapegoat has very good stats in best of 1, and in best of 3 it's much worse. Mass Maker is actually garbage in best of 3. So so like as a result, this helps like avoid the worst of it. Like Neighborhood Guardian was an important one to highlight that it's busted in BO1, but in BO3 it's just good.
It's still good.
It's still good, but like it's not busted. Like Dogwalker is better than it a lot of the time.
So Voyak Investigator is busted in best of 1, but it's only very good in
like it's still high. Like and then the next slide is better. This was important in WoW, for example, because we noticed Spreading Seas was a card that was bad. It had horrible stats week 1, but they were much better week 2, and it was better in best of 3. So we realized Spreading Seas it went from unplayable essentially in the stats to like actively one of the cards you want in your blue decks. So it was really interesting to see because in best of 3 you can mana screw them better, and there were a lot of reasons in pod drafts you might want Spreading Seas. So it's like stuff like that's important to highlight. I like this more when you have week 1 to week 2 stats to put, but this said we didn't have it, and the next set we won't because of the dates.
Yeah.
Pick Your Poisons highlighted. That's a very obvious one. Scene of the Crime was also important because you want to fix things more, and like in long games you might flood out in best of 3. So and you have more time because you're sideboarding to have more time. So like the land cycles is important.
I'm actually a bit surprised about this one because Scene of the Crime seems to be like a card that might be actually like in best of 3, at least post sideboard games, people might have enchantment artifact removal.
Yeah, but like how often are you going to target a land?
Well, on turn 1, if you
Sure,
play
if you
this
do that.
early and I have pick your poison, I'm slamming it.
Sure, but I mean, are they going to do it if you have nothing else? Do you see what I mean? Like, it doesn't actually happen in practice. Like, it's very cute when it happens. And people are, oh no, I got 1 mana stone, I got Sinkhold or whatever. In practice, it doesn't actually happen. You'll notice Panfer is up here. You'll notice Coveted Falcon was the card we talked about. That was the problem. Is I looked at the BO1 stats for Coveted Falcon, and it turned out in BO3 it was much better. So in my Sil pool, I should have run. I had 2. I should have run 1. I shouldn't have run both, but 1 at least, and that was a big mistake. And honestly, I was day 2 with 4 wins, so like that 5th win could have been a really big deal. So it's really important in stats as well to really dive for that reason. Is sometimes I made a mistake there. Presumed Dead is even better in Best of 3. That was another one that was interesting. Flotsam, Jetsam, because you actually have time to make that kind of effect actually work. And Rakdos, interestingly,
Slime
too.
Against Humanity, busted.
Yeah,
no,
sure.
It's still pretty bad.
It's still pretty bad. Honestly, rares and mythics here, I try to highlight the ones that are most important. I probably should have highlighted Basilica Stalker. That like in black is better in Best of 3, and like you have more time to make it work, etc.
Okay.
I think that's the last slide, but I'm more than welcome to answer questions and see the stuff you prepared too.
Yeah, this goes straight to my acknowledgements. Yeah, chat, do you have any questions? I will just give acknowledgement to 17 Lance Team and Fake Jake Brown, who are, one of them gives all the data we're using and you are using too. And Fake Jake Brown is helping me with releasing this. So kudos to him. He doesn't help you at all. But
well, he still makes this stuff happen, and you know that's important. So
okay, that is important. Okay, while you're thinking about the question, I might go out of the.
While you get your questions out, I have to actually. I've been. Asmodeus they went this way. So you could do more specific data analysis on this, but like I actually would agree with you on the print. Like I've had a few decks that were salvaged by that card, and you're correct. It's actually a pack one, like a pack 1 value up card, right? Because it's a variance buster, but it is a free mana variance buster, which is way worse than a 2 mana one in this set. But I have had it because sometimes I've had decks with like a lot of 5s and 6s. The reason that happens is a Killer Among Us sometimes goes late. Sometimes you get Glint Weavers. Sometimes you get a bomb, and then you end up with a lot of clunk. So they went this way is great in those decks. So it is a good highlight as a specific card. But yeah, I would pick it higher early on because specifically it might enable me to have something like this.
Oh dear, I did this. I did the doo-doo.
While you sort it out, I hope people, by the way, had a great time as well.
Oh, I'm 100% sure that they did. No, I just like disappeared between different desktops. How do I bring things back to the different desktop? My God, I'll never figure that one out.
Yeah. Like the thing is, it's hard to do speculative picks because there's less cards. But it's okay if your speculative picks are in view of something happening, and not you waffling around. Right? You're not wasting a pick. It's more if I need this card, I desperately need it. But if I don't need it, then it's fine. Like again, it's better to have a solution to a problem than a problem without a solution. I think one of the things as well with the presentation and the methodology of the team that's important is raising people of all skill levels. So it's like people who are like not so comfortable at limited in our team still perform decently. We did have an 06, that was a bit unfortunate, but we had an 6-0, right? But anyways. And then like somebody who's good goes to very good / excellent. Somebody who's excellent goes to quite high, and then world class, like actually unbeatable. Like someone like Marshall or Sean, who like have the skill set and are data informed, are not realistically beatable at the Pro Tour level draft table. Jean Emmanuel Deprat, who's not on our team, but like understands the data and is very good. Like very hard to grab a match off.
Exactly. Okay.
While you sort, do you think PT draft?
I know. I'm sorted. It's everything is ready. It's just like excellent. I managed to figure out how to move the.
Oh wow, we actually got Jyrock in the chat. So. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Jean Emmanuel. How are you?
Yeah. Do you think PT drafters force archetypes and colors more than an average draft? PT metagame seems to me like that. Yeah, that comes from a poor understanding of information. If you don't like look at data, then you're forcing things incorrectly. That's basically what happens. Um, I know some teams on the Pro Tour that don't look at information enough, and they have what I feel is a subpar draft strategy. It's because draft is very contextual, and honestly, the last sets, like, well, not LCI. LCI was truly awful, but like WoW and MKM, like the color balance isn't actually as bad as people think. Like in WoW, it's a metagame, and in MKM, it's a context-based affair. But like, why are we forcing? There's reasons to be in every color pair.
Yeah, I think that like especially like WoW, maybe it's true that week one aggressive decks were too strong for blue decks to compete with them, but week one has passed and people were still thinking that it's true, and it was not. Blue decks were doing quite well in this format.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I produced a couple of graphs, and
I think I saw this. This was a really interesting Twitter thread. Is this the one from
yesterday?
Yeah, that was this week. Sorry, it was very yesterday. Good. Yeah.
I looked at the win rates of the different decks depending on which turn did the game finish, and basically you can see which are the fastest decks. So like Boros, weirdly, white black was in there as one of the faster decks, and Rakdos. These were the like ultra fast decks in the format, or at least they wanted to be when they.
Okay, so this is ranked by speed currently. Is that correct?
Sort of, yes.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not saying that they are fast. I'm saying that they are aspiring to being fast based on what the results are showing. And then you got like some aggro to mid-range decks like Selesnya, Azorius, and Gruul. Then you have classic mid-range like Is, which has relatively same win rate independently of when the game ends. And you have Simic, which doesn't do very well in the short games, but not tragically by any means. It just doesn't do very well in those, and does really well if the game lasts a bit longer. So like between 9 and 14 turns, something like that. And then you get decks that are strictly wanting to have a longer game in Golgari and Dimir. So that's one part of the picture. That's what those decks want to be doing. And the other part of the picture is what they are actually capable of doing. And
this is interesting, actually. This part is very interesting.
The coloring here goes by columns, so don't compare that this is red and this is red, and then therefore should be similar. It's like the reddest thing is the highest in the given column.
Oh, so sure. So like 4.2% at that point is very okay.
Yeah, exactly. At that point, 4.2% is very good. So Boros does very well in those games. It's still only 4.2% of the games that it manages to end before turn 6, but it's quite a lot still. But you can see that Boros is actually good in ending the games early, and it's actually one of the decks that doesn't finish many games late, which is it does what it wants to be doing. That's why Boros is so good in this format.
Yeah, exactly. High win rate if you finish early, but it also gets the
Orzhov, for example, if you look at it, it's actually good in playing long games. It's just shit in winning the long games. So
it's good to be oops.
But I guess my question to you was like, do you think that you can draft consistently? You can draft Orzhov and Rakdos decks that are super aggressive, because I think that at least part of it is coming from the fact that people want to draft Orzhov as a mid-range or grindy deck, because that was my feeling about it.
I think one of the things, right? By the way, before we dive too much into the weeds of it, I want to espouse the vision that one of the hardest things to do with communicating low, mid, or high level information is visualization. One of the biggest challenges we have is actually data visualization. And I think the reason our team does okay is because we're decent at data visualization. I don't mean we're good. I mean we're decent, because I have not seen a lot of other good examples. It's like in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Anyways. The big thing here, when you're asking me that question, like, can you consistently do this? This is answering that question for me, right? Like, if you're drafting, you should be drafting the color pair because you can achieve your vision. If you're drafting that color pair and you didn't achieve your vision, maybe you got unlucky, but maybe you drafted it incorrectly.
I think that people might have a bad vision. At least I think that people understand that Rakdos should be drafted in very aggressive style.
Okay, wait. Why is Rakdos aggressive is different to why Boros is aggressive. Because with Rakdos, because you don't have a lot of 2-for-1s. So if you're trying to use your removal and your spells to buy time against 1-for-1ing their creatures in front, you're not going to win because you're not doing anything productive. Now, if you're pushing damage, it works because then your shock killing a disguised creature is 2 or 4 damage.
Well, they also have like tons of menace, which will be sort of enabling 2-for-1s, for example. Like
you need to understand
poison and whatever.
Yeah. So like once you understand it's aggressive, it's like okay, so a removal spell stopping their attack is bad, but a removal spell enabling mine is good. That's what this reads to me as, and that's super important.
Yeah. But I'm not talking even about the reasons for that, but I'm more thinking like, are the people just drafting Orzhov badly because they I think that the idea of Orzhov being an attrition, small game, long kind of game deck is living rent-free in people's heads. And maybe they don't think that in this particular format, we should be trying to make sure that Orzhov is as aggressive as physically possible.
Yeah, but see, this is what I like about the 2 graphs you did, is it removes personal biases and answers the question for us. Because this is telling you when the deck wants to operate and how often it operates. Now, it could be biased on people's perception of it.
That's exactly my thing. That I think that there might be a large part of it that people just want to draft those grindier Orzhov decks, and because of that they don't do it, not because it's not possible to be done.
But it only skews it a bit because at the end of the day, the reality is you're going to play a game and you're going to play your cards as they lie, right? So because of that, like whether people come to that realization or not is their problem. But once you have something this valuable, you understand what's going on. You are light years ahead because like there's so much incredible like information. I'm not a data analyst. I'm going off the cuff stuff that I can figure out off my skills. But like you could do data analysis on like what like it's an 110 meg JSON or something. Like if you knew what you were looking for, like honestly, I'm surprised PT teams don't hire someone to do data analysis.
I'm still waiting for a phone call, but
come along. I'm not joking. Like because it's just such a valuable skill set that no one has. No one's using. It's just
one interesting thing I found here is that actually Gruul decks seem to be quite good in winning games early.
Yeah, and that's fanatical strength, right?
Again, I mean, I guess it is, but and they're not really good in running longer games. But I mean,
because what are you trying to do? Like if your caller has shock, red herring, and reckless detective at best, right? Or and the chase is on, you're not trying to win a long game. Let's be realistic about what's going on.
And one thing that I found funny, and I think that this part is sort of like a corollary of everything. But those Izzet and Simic decks are really good in making the games last exactly in the middle somewhere. But I don't think it's just because they are specifically good to run games in the middle. I'm just thinking that all the other decks are either good in making games long or making games short, and these just basically are left there. Well, I guess everyone else trying to finish in the either short or long time, we're just staying there. By the way, there's a question in chat. Red-green is decent in the beginning. It's not like amazing, but it wins like 58% in the early games.
Yeah. But like one of the things is like it's because there's reasons they mid-range, right? It's because blue-red needs time to investigate and uses like spells well that buy time, like Out Cold, etc. You want time for your disguise creatures to work. It's an archetype where some of the 5-drops are good, like Offender of Large is getting a lot of archetypes really nice in that one. It's the 4/5 at top players use it well. There's a lot of things about blue-red to buy time, and blue-green just needs time to deploy. Like it's a Killer Among Us, a Glint Weavers. Blue-green is an archetype that definitely plays the 6/5 Trampler a lot more.
Oh yeah, that the one because it also loves splashing because it plays longer games.
Repulsive Mutation is better in like there's Doppelgang, which is a mythic, but it's so key to that win rate. And then like Repulsive Mutation is a lot better if you have time to make it use of it, right? Like Repulsive Mutation probably not that great.
Yeah, and honestly, when you look at it, like there is no limit of how long game blue-green deck wants to be playing. The limit is how long can it keep the game on.
The limit is the opponent.
Exactly. Because I think that I had that problem sometimes with the blue-green deck is that it stabilizes, but it always is hanging by a thread. And unless you have a counter
yeah.
unless you have a counter spell, they always can top deck that trample combat trick, or they always can top deck a shock, and you're dead.
Which is why Mutation's so good.
And Glint Weaver also.
Yes, Glint Weaver
because it moves the finish line for them.
Yeah, it's
or
like,
no. Yeah. Sometimes you just play against the blue-green deck and they just like play 2 of the 1/3s, but they have already the collect evidence and they gain 4 life out of it, and you're like, well, that finish line has moved beyond my reach right now, because they are now, instead of being at 3, they are at 7, and I will not push 7 damage anymore in that game.
Yeah, and sometimes you just go like, okay, here's a 6/6 or something. It's also not really. I mean, there is an active treason technically, but it's 5 mana, kind of unplayable. So like large lifelink, like Hamlet Gluton in this set would be like pretty good. And
okay, well, we got a raid from Arstal, and I think that this is a high point for us. We almost got into 3 digits of the viewers.
Oh shit! Oh,
but I found it amazingly enlightening, the discussion with you, and hopefully my listeners will too. So thanks very much for coming. I mean, you've taken a large chunk of your day to talk about how to teach pros, but I think that your philosophy of teaching is actually going to work for everyone. I think that if even pros can learn, it means anyone can learn.
Yeah. No, right. Again, something I said earlier, or might have said in the pre-show, is because I discussed with my business partner about this back today, actually, because we talk design often, and one of the things is good methodologies apply at all levels of play, and that's one thing about having a team with different skill levels and different formats, is because you have people who need to climb up, you focus on everybody. So as a result, you need to lift all the boats in the tide. So you think of a methodology that works for everybody, not just the top percentage of players. Like for me, the measure of success, while it is nice to have the top players still be the top players, that's one measure of success. But another measure of success is how much the players who probably had no shot without this information and the care of, and I don't want to like underline and stress the rest of the team is very important, because everybody that shares information, that takes the time to share that information, is important. What I do is more like I contextualize stuff so that other people can like give things in that context.
And again, you have a track record that it does work, because 64% win rate for the whole team in limited portion of a Pro Tour, that's really good. If you had this kind of win rate with your deck in Constructed, you will be like a topic of countless hype things, because that's more or less the win rate of the Rakdos Vampires, isn't it? It's actually higher. It's higher.
Rakdos Vampires was like 57, right?
No, 57 was actually Phoenix. I think Rakdos was 60 point something.
I don't.
Because
they removed. Oh, sorry, they must have removed mirror matches.
They removed mirror matches.
My bad. That's actually kind of important, right? But
as you did to your limited games, so that's fair comparison. So 64 would be at the level of the breakout deck of the tournament, and yet limited, being treated as it is, will never get that kind of a level of hype. But it is amazing that a team can get such a high win rate.
And I do want to contextualize again, like while we do have like top of the range, world class limited players, we also have people who aren't that. I don't want to insult them, but there are people who are less good at limited than others. Let's put it that way.
Go on.
Yeah, and the thing is, the real measure of success of the team is building up those people. Because if you don't build up everybody, then like there's a problem probably with your methodology. Because it's not that hard for a top player to have a winning win rate, right? But like the question is how much. Because like since I've been using data, my win rate online for like the stuff has gone from 65, 70-ish to like 75, 80 on some formats. And I can see that difference. And I like, it doesn't like, I'm not trying to espouse like my skill here. It's more, if you can increasing your win rate that much at that level, at the level of play I have, is very like unbelievably difficult. It's very hard. Like the more percentage points up you are, the more like the raw percentage increase is like super rough.
Well, it's an asymptotic kind of.
Right, because the bell curves the way they are. So like that was like a big eye opener into why I want to communicate the style away. with others. And a big reason is with the team is we try not to have too much ego. We try to share information in a way that is multiplicative, and we don't ignore data. It doesn't mean we're like married to it, but we definitely don't ignore it. Like, I think that's one of our edges is a lot of the field either can't read the data correctly. Not their problem. It's just like it isn't that easy to analyze data plus contextualize it. So it's not.
I know.
Right. People get paid a lot to do this work in professional environments. And then there are people who ignore it. So we get a freebie. Like, because they go like, my personal opinion must be better. I'm like, no, it isn't. I don't care who you are. It is not better. It's the same. Again, it's the thing. I already did it, said at the start. It's the same thing as people who think they can outperform the stock market as an expert. It doesn't mean like they can't succeed and there's stuff you don't know, etc. But like on average, just like there's so many books written about how like just putting in like an index fund outperform, like a cat picked stocks and did better than an expert. Like, you know, you can't outperform reality.
I heard that you can just buy on the days after a loss of the main index and then sell and not buy on the days after a gain of the main index, and you're going to outperform basically any expert.
It's ridiculous. It's like unless somebody knows something they shouldn't, right? Like unless if there's like insider trading or something, like you're sure you could.
Oh, you know, I mean, you know, when you put 1,000 experts, one of them just by pure blind, and it's going to be better. And you know, like I have this pretty strong feeling that very often people who were just lucky 3 times in a row became experts because they were lucky 3 times in a row.
That's true. Like survivor bias is also a big thing. Like I can't stress it enough. Again, I try to focus on like, did I play well? What did I do? Like questions that like, what could I do to perform? What's the reality of what I'm trying to do? You know, rather than like the results, because one nice part of like having history and doing okay-ish, like, I mean, I'm not like Hall of Fame world class or whatever, but I'm still decent. So like one of the things that's nice about that is like, while I play for results, sometimes I don't have to chase them as hard, so I can relax and contextualize a bit more. And I think that a lot of people need to take that step a bit more. And like, how should I put it? Like, playing games is a costly activity. If you're playing games to like, again, I'll sum up the discussion quickly, right? It's just like the time you spend on theory very often outclasses the time you spend in play, because theory is based off the play of others, and other people are going to outperform your play in terms of quantity than you. Now, it doesn't mean you shouldn't listen to yourself, your intuition, your research, but you should still understand what reality is before you go in your bubble. Because if you stay in your bubble and don't understand what the rest does, that's a recipe often for disaster. So that's a lot of what the training is for me. Is I want to explain reality to you as quickly as I reasonably can, so that I can trust you, a creative person who wants to put in the work to deliver something incredible. Because if you don't understand reality, you won't be able to. So I want to give you the tools to be you, because otherwise you're a shell of yourself fundamentally. So that's really what I try to do. Is I try to go like, you know what? There's all this work out there. Like, I don't know. I cash arena opens, but I don't play a limited format that much. Often I'll play like 5, 10, or 15 hours max. And it's because the information to understand what's going on is out there. And when you read it, you get like so much more of the step there, and then you let the person now the trick is I have a lot of experience, so I can cheat a bit. But like, if you don't have that experience, knowing the information means that you have to do like a fifth of the work to get to like the same result as.
I mean, I know, because I know how little I play compared to other people that make content, but I also sit in the data way longer than anyone else probably in the planet.
Sure. Right. Then there's like deep theory, and then there's stuff you want to do. Like that's a different. But like, you know, realistically.
But you know, I mean, I have to start from all the angles, because I never like. The week starts and I rarely have an idea what am I going to be talking about in my episode. So I have to explore it and probably tenth of what I'm doing is ever going to be released in the public, but I just don't have time to prep all the things that I came up with.
No, like, and it's a bit of a, that's I think that's a big difference as well with the content you make compared to like the reality I face is like I have to help perform for a tournament. And I have a full-time job and other stuff. I can't do this all the time.
Well, me, so
and you too, right? Like, so you and me can focus on like a specific direction, and your focus is more on like your interest. Again, I'm a guest and I'm trying to figure it out, but like it seems to be more on like, the love of the thing for the thing itself, which is fantastic. I love it. But like as a result, you go much deeper than anybody else will. Whereas for me, I'm like, well, at the end of the day, they're gonna like have to go in a tournament, so I have to like.
Yeah, you're more like I'm a theoretical scientist. You're a applied scientist.
Yeah,
that's exactly the difference that we have in scientific department of some people being like so deeply entrenched in theory that they forgot that you can use it, and people who are so much focused on the applied that they forgot that actually their findings from the applied can be used in theory.
Yeah. As a result, I'm trying to go more to the theoretical for constructed because I know the framework's so bad that we have to go outside. But like I'm applied and limited because I know the like for example, what you presented to me here, how good it's enforcing your plan. This is fantastic. Like in 10 to 15 minutes, I understood very quick, like, and then you explain it right. But like I understood very quickly what's going on with this format, and you were capable of presenting very quickly what's going on. This is an amazing data visualization tool. And like the thing is, there's no amount of like this is the equivalent of 3 to 5 matches of Magic. And I can't imagine someone playing 3 to 5 matches of Magic to give me more insight than the 2 graphics you just showed me. Not even close. That's why like ignoring the data is insane to me, frankly. If your goal is the pursuit of excellence, then it's insane to ignore the data. Now, if your goal is to have fun and you don't want to see data, that's fine. I don't care. Like that's a totally reasonable argument to go like, I just want to have fun. I'm like, yeah, great. Go be. Like, like somebody's like, I want to play this deck because it's fun. I'm like, fantastic. You do you. Like, I want to draft Chalk Outline and Insidious Roots. I'm like, yeah, you don't need to look at stats. You want to draft those cards, go for it. Have fun. Like, everything we're contextualizing, right, is in the pursuit of excellence. And that's a totally different ballgame.
I mean, I analyze the data and I still will say no to the Insidious Roots and Chalk Outline deck just to feel something. I know I'm losing my win percentage by playing them.
Yeah, but listen, like you want to have fun.
But I'm playing the game to have fun, not to have a win percentage.
So I did 7-0 with a Chalk Outline deck because I didn't try to get it. So I had Grave Striders and I happened to get Chalk Outline late with already.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
But like I think that's also one of the things I dislike with MKM is my favorite limited sets are where your second tier 2 free 4 strategies are still playable. And there's a lot of them. Whereas in this set, it pretty much feels like I got it. Like so I want to do something different. I pretty much have to Chalk Outline. There's not a lot of creativity here.
My favorite set was Ikoria, and in Ikoria you could do so off the book things that were still successful.
Yeah. So
still, I know that cycling was a problem, but I think that you could do so much outside of it.
So Ikoria, it's interesting because I rank limited sets, which is like a content creator activity, right? To go like letter a set because obviously that can't say the whole story. But for me, Ikoria, I was like, it's a C, but it's an A if you ban Zenith Flare. If Zenith Flare was banned from, it's the only set where I would ban a limited card. Not even Jite in Kamigawa would I ban, but I would ban Zenith Flare and Ikoria because the problem with that card is that not only is it completely busted, it is tutorable in the decks that play it.
Yeah, sort of tutorable.
It is completely. It is. I'm struggling. I think it is the worst uncommon ever designed for limited play. I don't say that lightly. I had a box stashed out, and we played Ikoria draft with my friends. And there were 2 rules. One, we play Old Companion rule because the new one is just doesn't make sense in limited. And if someone opens Zenith Flare, they get a second pack to open instead. Or you have random uncommons and give them Zenith Flare is banned. Because it's not a fun card.
No, it's
you can't you can barely there's like memory.
You can't pass it. You have to pick it, and then once you pick it, it's like why wouldn't you use it? I mean, it's just so good. it's so easy to build around it.
Such a stupid.
But card. I played with the concept that I don't care. I'm going to lose sometimes to Zenith Flare. I want to have fun, and this format is amazing.
Yeah, that was the problem. I actually really liked the core if it wasn't for Zenith Flare. Once I understood what the joke was over. But like the Ikoria was definitely like, for me, it was like a set that suffered so much from that card. Everything else was great about it. I thought like you could go late game. There's a lot of cool stuff you could do, but it didn't matter in the face.
Well, like companions being 10 natural build rounds, at least.
Yeah, like it was a super cool set.
Happening.
And Xenoph, but like the nice part about drafting with friends, you can do what you want. So you could literally have a Ikoria box and ban Xenoph Flare, and you're happy. It's great.
Yeah, I agree. Black White Human Tribal was also pretty cool as a concept, and generally Mardu, Bushmeat Poacher decks were just great.
Oh, there was
anyway.
Sorry. Yes.
Summing it up. As Eduardo said, data is absolutely essential for you to be better in limited. Please listen to that very carefully. I didn't think that was going to be the message, but there we are, and it just coincidentally aligns with what I am doing, which is nice.
Yeah. It's three things, right? It's at least two. I'm sure there's a third thing. It's it's data informed.
Almost fanatical devotion to the Pope and surprise.
Yeah. Visualization, so communication basically, but like through visualization in data, and lack of ego. I can't stress that last point enough. It's the ability to have other people with you who are willing to work together. So collaboration. So it's basically those three. It's data informed, data like visualization / communication as a result, and collaboration. Once you have those three things, all of it falls really into place, because you're like, yeah, frankly.
Okay, well that sums it up, I guess.
Sorry.
I mean, again, so many thanks for joining. It was so much fun to have you on. This was probably my least structured episode ever, which somehow structured itself, which is a great lesson in self-emerging properties of complex systems that we observe in our real world. And do you have anything to plug?
Oh, to plug? No, not really. But like, you can follow me on Twitter, X, whatever.
I'll put your Twitter in the description.
Yeah,
for the people to follow.
I don't know if I have anything to most of my life is pretty standard full-time stuff right now, but like, I don't know, if things go wrong, I might have stuff to plug in the future, but for now things are okay, so I can handle.
Well, I mean, you definitely are natural in content creation. I mean, but that was quite obvious that you will be, given the topic we're covering and the role that you're playing in it. So I wouldn't foresee problems. Well, have fun. You're in Montreal, or?
Yes, I'm in Montreal. So if you're coming for the I live in Montreal, but so if you're coming for the Montreal RC in Canada, absolutely come say hi.
I might be coming to Montreal for a completely different reason, and then I might say hi, because my really good friend lives in there. So
as long as I'm not away in Europe, definitely.
Popping in and visiting him, I will definitely say hi, because I heard only good things about the place. I might move my hiney there once I get
love
some
this
holiday.
city, honestly. Like I've lived here for a bunch of years, and it's the one city on the planet that I always want to come back to.
Better than UK, even?
Well, I left the UK. I by the way, I didn't leave the UK to go somewhere. I just left. I don't mind going political.
To be fair, you were in Plymouth. I can fully understand that.
Plymouth was fine. The problem I had was more the when I moved was 2016. Like, it was before Brexit, but like as Brexit was happening, and there was a big difference. Like, I lived there 9 years, and when I moved in as a student, I thought like maybe it was Bristol that was that, but like, I actually thought that the British were relatively open, like to a lot of different things, walks of life, etc. And I found that it was one of the few countries, or maybe it was because I lived it, where I felt that sentiment shifted more to being closed. And I struggled deeply with living in a society that isn't open functionally to different walks of life, because you can't determine how somebody lives, because they don't even choose what happens or who they are, etc. It just is. I didn't know where to go, so I tried Toronto. I didn't like Toronto, but then I tried Montreal. Absolutely loved it. Moved here, and I have no plans to go anywhere else. I love it really here. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame. I have a lot of British friends.
It's the same I have with Cornwall. I don't think I could be living anywhere else in the UK.
Cornwall's great. By the way, for anybody in the audience, like, if you want to Like, I think Cornwall is really underrated. It's not easy to get to, which is a problem, but it is. Like Devon and Cornwall, like Devon has some fantastic nature walks, and Cornwall has like just incredible beach line.
You will know more or less the distances because I had to go to Exeter tomorrow for a meeting, and I checked my train, and because of some kind of problem with the rail, it would take me 10 hours there and back. So I said, okay, I'm not spending 10 hours to go to Exeter. Yeah.
No, because it's like 2.5 hours normally. So by the way, this is a funny story. That back when I was competing, it was one year where like the train tracks are by the sea, which is lovely for the.
Oh, that they were
So
not 1 year. It happens now every year.
Oh yeah.
Now it happens
so they got
every
swallowed
year.
by the water. So like the train tracks were like some Indiana Jones movie where they're like hanging in the balance.
And it still happens every bloody year. There is at least 2 weeks when the sea washes away. With climate change and increasing sea level, it's not going to happen less.
No, that's
It's a beautiful train track. I posted a couple of pictures from exactly that spot on my Twitter. When I'm going with the train, I always take a picture because it looks lovely. Those red rocks and sea just like next to you when you're going by train. But the small problem with that is that once every year the sea will take away whatever the gravel from under the tracks, and they're just hanging there joyfully.
Yeah, no, it is a super pleasant train ride. There's also a sleeper train, I think, that's still going.
Yeah, there's still going.
That's great. Like honestly, if you were like going on vacation, it's great because like the train like goes by the coastline, so you get to see the whole coastline, and the towns are good. And honestly, I actually found the people there to be quite open because they're very like, so to speak, Cornish or Devonish. Like they're not cosmopolitan, but I actually found them to be relatively open in general, because I think maybe because they depend on tourism partly, but like they're usually pretty welcoming.
Oh no, they hate tourists. Don't worry about it.
Oh, they hate tourists? Well, that's normal. I guess who doesn't? But it was a good time. Like honestly, I liked that region.
Yeah, I think it's like more rebellious kind of mentality. They've been always, at least the Cornish, they've always been like half associated with the rest of the country, and they were not important enough to be quelled and incorporated like under the boot. So they were just like, yeah, we're just going to be different. We choose to be different, and we're happy with that. And I think that it's also like my whole department is people who came here because of that kind of mentality. They just like, yeah, I'm a bit tired of the rat race in Oxford/Cambridge. Let's move to Cornwall and have a little bit of more life-work balance while still doing nice research without the need to make the head of the department like extremely happy.
Yeah, it's partly why I'm here in Montreal too. Like because I worked with I guess still partly with independent video game development, and one of the biggest differences is when I ask people in Montreal, it has changed a bit because rents, whatever, geopolitical global situation, but like one of the things when I was asking is like, how did you found your studio? A lot of the answers was, I saved up and I have 2 to 4 years ahead of me where I can use my savings to spend time on this project. Okay. Then I go to Toronto and ask, and they're like, well, I work full time and I work 20 hours on top. I was like, I know where I prefer living right now. Or like I've seen, or like what's more common in Montreal/Quebec, the province, on people who have their own project, is they'll work part-time or on contract for 20 hours and then they'll do their project for 20. But that's a lot more sustainable. Like you can actually live that way. Whereas the Ontario thing of 40 plus 20 is just unbelievable. Like I just go nuts. Like how are you creative after 40 hours workday? Like I'm cooked. Like doing the magic stuff after that is so hard.
I know. Trust me, I do know.
We do this for fun as well. Look at this. Look at this thing we do for fun. Like we're both enjoying this thing. Everybody in this audience is probably enjoying this like rectangle for percentages. We love it. We can't get enough of it. It's great.
All right, I will end it here because otherwise we'll spend 7 more hours. Because I'm pretty sure that we're both capable of that, and that's the sad thing about our lives, I guess. But thank you so much for joining, and all the best in your future endeavors. I'm going to look next time at what the win percentage of Team Worldly Counsel is, hopefully everyone learned something useful from you this week. And next week, I also have a guest, and also from Canada. Ooh. But he is going to be in my house, which is going to be a bit of a change. So that's going. I'm not spoiling that much, but I guess most of you can figure out what's going on in there. So see you next week.